Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
And I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we are diving into the magical world of romantasy and covering The Robin on the Oak Throne by K.A. Linde. And how beautiful is this? I mean, oh, even the edging, so gorgeous. I love this book just for the cover alone.
And the content is great too. So
So
let's
good.
start with why we selected the Robin on the Oak Throne. So obviously, we had to know what happens next after finishing the first book in the series, The Wren and the Holly Library. There were too many unanswered questions for us. Extremely grateful that we could dive immediately into the second book and didn't have to wait. We also get more world building and meet a ton of additional characters in this book. And just when you think you have everything in the world figured out, you get major surprises. And we love a good villain story, and there are multiple villains in this book to love to hate. Specifically, we're looking at you, Lorcan. You have landed at the top of my list for villains to hate in this world, and I don't see an ounce of good in you at all. The spice. It may start as like a slowish burn again between Graves and Kierse, but it really heats up in this book. Talk about a morally gray bad guy who happens to be extremely thoughtful, romantic, understanding, all while also like willing to burn down the entire fucking world for you. We're always here
Oh,
for that.
so here for that. Yes, please. Oh my God, so good. And now here are a few things that you should know about the author, K.A. Linde. She is a New York Times, USA Today, and #1 Sunday Times bestselling author. She writes both romance and romantasy. And then prior to becoming an author, she was a head campaign worker for a presidential campaign and the coach of the Duke University dance team. Pretty cool. And she currently lives in Texas with her husband, son, and dog.
So, before we jump into discussing this book, a couple of key reminders. This episode will contain spoilers. We assume that if you're listening, you've read this book and the previous book in the series. You have been warned. This book also contains a lot of topics that may be sensitive for some readers, including anxiety, assault, blood, death, drugs, emotional abuse, gun violence, infertility, kidnapping, murder, physical abuse, prostitution, PTSD, sexual assault, sexual harassment, stalking, torture, violence. A lot.
Just a few. Yeah, yeah. Now let's talk tropes. So, first up, we have enemies to lovers. Kierse and Graves aren't exactly on friendly terms in the beginning of the book because Kierse still has a lot of resentment towards Graves for just not being honest with her. So, we still get a little bit of an enemies to lovers vibes that quickly fades once Graves starts to earn Kierse's trust again. And we're so happy for that. Next, we have Second Chance. Graves definitely screwed up things in the last book by keeping a lot of secrets from Kierse, but he's determined to earn her trust back. So we have a second chance love trope element to this book. And he definitely does a good job. And then we have a touch her and die. Oh my God, Graves has absolutely no problem killing anyone who touches Kierse or even thinks about touching her, honestly. Just like a no questions asked, like you look at her wrong and you're dead. Next, we have a love triangle, or in a weird way, a love triskel in a way, but not really. Because Kierse may not want to be in this love triangle. She ultimately is because she has feelings for Graves and is weirdly tied or linked to Lorcan via this alleged soulmate bond. So it's kind of like a unintentional love triangle that she doesn't want to be a part of. Then we have age gap. Graves and Lorcan are literally hundreds of years old. Graves was even around when the Globe Theater burned down, so he's like, oh yeah, I knew Billy Shakespeare, you know? And then meanwhile, Kierce is like in her 20s, so she's like, you're old, but hot. And then we have found family. There was an element of found family in the first book between Kierce, Jen, and Ethan, and it definitely grows to include more people, such as Graves, Isolde, Edgar, George, and perhaps even some others, such as Laz, Schwartz, Nate, etc. Lastly, fated mates. There is the alleged soulmate bond between Lorcan and Kierce that honestly makes us want to vomit. We're like, no. But you know what? There might be another mate bond forming between Kierce and Graves too, so who knows? There could be another link.
All right, so let's talk about every magical twist. A lot happens in this book. I think even more so than the first book, but let's dive in. So it's been 5 months since the end of the Wren and the Holly Library. Kierse is at the Palace of Versailles in France because, of course, she is thieving again.
Yes.
So it was kind of interesting that that's where it opened. I expected it to open in Ireland. So I was a little like, what's going on here?
Same. I was like, oh, we're in France. Oh, okay. This is not what I was expecting, but I'll take it.
Exact. But I'll take it. So she is trying to steal a bracelet from the Queen of the Nymphs. And besides the location of her being in France, it doesn't seem like she's really changed much. She's still up to her old thieving, kind of the same way she's done it before, except now she has all of these stronger powers from the fact that she learned that she's a wisp and has those powers unbound in the last book. We also learned that New York City was an anomaly when it came to integrating humans and monsters because the rest of the world made deals with monsters before any wars broke out. So it makes me wonder, like, if New York City struggled so much, like, why? And if everything between monsters and humans is as copacetic throughout the rest of the world as we're led to believe. Like, why only New York City?
Yeah. Like, what's going on? What's in
What's
the
going on
air
there?
here?
Yeah. Maybe some witch powder. Who knows? War power. War
War
powder.
power. Oh man, that'd be bad.
So at this party, we see like a wide variety of monsters enjoying themselves, with trolls and goblins providing security for the event. It's like the first time we've seen so many different types of monsters in one location. Because even at the kind of the winter solstice party in the last book, we didn't see werewolves participating, and there were some other monster types that weren't there. So Kiersa's like making her way through the palace. She's wearing this high slit dress. She's using her
Mhm.
magic to kind of like slip unnoticed. And she ends up having to jump from one balcony to the next. And all I thought was, girl, how are you doing that in a like cocktail dress? Because I couldn't
Right?
do that like wearing leggings.
Oh God, I don't know how she's doing it, man.
I don't either. And she used like a glamour spell to hide like her pointed ears and things like that. And she needs to like basically steal this bracelet before that glamour wears off. This is also the first time we learn that iron seems to have an effect on Kyrus because when she touches like the iron railings, it like she hisses. And
Yeah.
so you know like immediately like that's going to play a bigger role leader in this book. And it also makes me wonder like what role iron will play like in future books too.
Right? Yeah. Instead of doing like gilded bones to keep somebody, it's like iron. Also, I just realized like we start this book with a big party and everyone is there, and we end the book with a big party
And everyone is there.
and everyone is there, but
Mhm.
happy versus not so happy.
Yeah.
Again, spoiler, you've read the book, we already know. So now, once she's in the queen's bedroom, she goes to look for the bracelet in the safe and just doesn't find it there. The scene reminds us of when Kyrus is stealing the diamond ring at the beginning of the first book, because both times she was told exactly where the item should be. The only difference this time is that it's just not there. Turns out the queen decided to wear it tonight. God forbid she wears her jewelry, right?
Right?
But it's almost like she might have known that it was going to be stolen. Maybe it was coincidence, but either way, it's not in the safe. So then we also learn her reasoning behind stealing this bracelet. A goblin in Dublin wants this bracelet, and no one else has been able to successfully steal it yet. So if Kierse can, then this goblin will give her a coin to access the goblin market, which is something you need basically to get in there. And she needs to learn more about her past, hence why she wants to go in the goblin market. Upon realizing that the bracelet isn't there, Kierse tries to make her way out, but comes across two guards, which usually just wouldn't be a problem for her, except that she cut her hand, and one of them happens to be a vampire guard. Ugh. And it doesn't help that she already scandalously high slit dress has ripped even higher when she jumped across the balconies. So she's just like literally a snack for them, like visually and maybe physically. So she tries to bat her eyes at this guard and pretend that she's lost, but it just doesn't seem to be working.
And that's when Graves shows up and says, I've been looking everywhere for you. Unhand my wife. And I died.
Oh my gosh.
It gave major Rice vibes from Akatar. It reminded me of Rowan from Throne of Glass. Like,
For sure.
and
Yeah.
it's also slightly confusing because Kyrus has not seen Graves since she left New York City months ago, and she's like not even heard from him. And so I'm like, how did you know where to find her? And so this is where I'm like, once again, does this woman have an air tag on her? How can she
Right.
be tracked? Also,
Seriously.
how hot was it that he called her his wife? Because I was just like,
Ugh. Unhand her. And you're like, oh, daddy, hello.
right, hello. Well, and it feels like maybe like a little foreshadowing to maybe like the future. So Pretty clear. Kierse is still pissed at Graves for keeping secrets, but like there's still this really strong attraction between the two of them, especially like when she's like, "Oh, husband," right? And plays the part of a doting wife to be able to get away from the guards. And it's really, I honestly grateful that Graves showed up because who knows what would have happened to Kierse because that vampire guard did not seem to have honorable intentions whatsoever. Plus, like Graves is, I mean, let's be honest, he's a fairly scary monster, so it's pretty easy for him to get the guards to back off, like, and leave Kierce alone.
Yeah.
So then they're alone, and Kierce wants to know, like, what Graves is doing there, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I mean, hello, just stealing shit. You know that.
Duh.
Duh, obviously. So we get some more of that banter that we got in the first book between the two of them, and then we also learn that Kierce wasn't able to steal the bracelet because she learns the queen's wearing it. Which Kierce is like, "Oh, that's not a problem," and Graves is like, "I think, what do you mean? Trying to steal? You're gonna steal it off her hand? Like,
How's
that's
she not going to
reckless."
notice that? Yeah. Like,
And well, all I thought was like, "Have you met Kierce? Of course she's going to do the reckless thing.
duh.
Duh.
Naturally.
She's like the definition of reckless when it comes to like getting what she wants. She doesn't think about consequences. Like she's just like untouchable in a lot of ways, as how she behaves when it comes to thieving, it feels like. And but he's like, "I mean, I'll help you. I know the queen. Of course you do." Like I feel like that's a funny thing in this book. We learn how many people Graves really knows and has some sort of past with. That's just hilarious. He's like, "I can get you close enough to the queen to steal the bracelet." And I'm like, "Okay, so now you're helping?"
Hmm.
Color me surprised.
So surprised you just insert yourself into her mission, which is what he does. But, first, of course, she has to dance with him. So I'm like, oh, darn.
Right.
So this is the start of when we see him expressing his true feelings toward Kierce, even though she seems to initially think it's all some type of ploy and dismisses, honestly, a lot of what he says. For instance, she accuses him of looking at her as if he's calculating her worth, and he tells her that's priceless. And you're like, okay. But, like, that is what he truly believes. And it's hard for Kierce to believe Graves when he expresses these types of feelings because of his history of keeping secrets from her and the fact that she hasn't ever been in a healthy relationship, or seen one. So at least that she remembers anyway. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So then it's time for them to meet the queen. Graves once again introduces Kierce as his wife, almost like he's hoping that she eventually will be his wife. Like he's like, if I say it enough, maybe it'll happen. And the queen, right? Yeah, he's putting it out there in the universe. And the queen is pretty shocked to learn that he is allegedly married and comments on how Kierce isn't wearing a ring. And Graves quickly responds by saying Kierce won't wear one, followed by Kierce claiming that she would if he picked the right one. So we're like, okay, what's going on here? And he's like, noted, got it. And it seems fairly innocent banter between the two of them until the queen mentions something about preferring something to understand or a family heirloom and then winks. She's like, you should do that. I'm like, okay, is it the diamond ring that Kierce stole from Graves at the beginning of the book? Like, is that a family heirloom? Should we get that back? Another breadcrumb to how it might factor into the story in the future. I'm still curious where that fingernail came from. Like, I'm still just like, are we not talking about the fingernail still, guys? Like, come on. So during this, yeah, right, no. During this interaction, Kierce successfully steals the bracelet off of the queen's arm and they leave. However, the queen quickly realizes it's missing and they have to start running and eventually have to fight a troll to get out of the palace and find that Graves' driver George is waiting in a limo for them that just happens to be warded so it can't be tracked at all. You're like, well, that's convenient. I'm so happy this is here.
So Graves informs Kierce they're headed to his friend's house since she's like, "You can't stay in a hotel with this bracelet. My place in France is being renovated." And his friend happens to be the Warlock of Paris. She's also known as the Game Master. Her primary magic is illusions. And it's safe to go to her house because the queen won't cross her. And then we learn later it's because they used to be lovers. So what's really unique about this conversation between Kierce and Graves is he is willingly answering her questions, which is not something we saw him do in the last book. He kind of avoided them or would give her partial answers, and he's being very forthcoming. So quickly showing that he has some remorse for how he acted previously and is really trying to be different with Kierce, even though she at this point isn't realizing it or accepting it. He also shares that he has another job for her to help steal the cauldron, which is one of the four magical objects of the gods that we learned about. So in the last book, we saw the sword that Lorcan has now, the sphere that Kierse has, and supposedly his friend Estelle, the warlock of Paris, has the cauldron. So hence why they need to go see her tonight. And then once they arrive at Estelle's, the woman who answers the door tells Grave that Estelle has been expecting him, but she isn't sure about Kierse. And immediately, Kierse can feel like Estelle's magic melt over her skin. And I'm like, oh, let the games begin. We're gonna play some games. It's going to be mind games, and I cannot wait.
Or maybe it's gonna be Twister.
Right? You never know.
Naked Twister.
Naked Twister. I mean, we do know that he's like threesomes at some point, so you never ever know.
Never know.
So when Estelle enters the room, she comments on Graves' appearance, and because like in the limo, he started like taking off his jacket, his tie, etc. Which at first I was like, why is he doing that? Because Kierse looks disheveled, and he wanted to make himself look the same, and allude to the fact they were getting busy in the limo, and that's why they both look this way. Like, well done. He's always
well done,
playing
sir.
like it's like he's playing chess, and he's multiple steps ahead of everyone in this game.
And then Graves introduces Kierse again as his wife. And Estelle isn't surprised because she's already heard this news. Okay, it travels fast, I guess. And we assume from the queen, of course, because no one else would have known at this point, unless she like randomly knows those two guards, but likely the queen. And then Estelle makes a hilarious comment saying, anyone who can lock down the most formidable bachelor on either side of the Atlantic has my appreciation and condolences. Very true. And then Graves and Estelle discuss playing a game for the cauldron. And Estelle refuses to play with Graves. Instead, she wants to play with Kierse. Of course she does. And what's fascinating about this point is that we also learn that Graves has played games in the past with Estelle, where he has sacrificed many others to the game. So there's kind of a moment where we become angry at Graves again, because we're like, are you about to do the same thing to Kierse? And like, you fooled us all? Like, we're all tricked? But Graves is very clear with Estelle that Kierse is off limits and is not willing to harm her. Again, kind of a touch her and die sort of thing. In fact, he says, I am not sacrificing Kierse. She is much too precious for that. I will play the game and I will win my reward. So Graves refuses to play the game with Kierse involved, and again is like, we're going to leave, but Estelle insists that they stay the night at least. So once they're alone, Kierse and Graves discuss the illusions that Estelle was using. Remember, he has like the sound barrier, so like they're alone in a room. And we also then learn that Estelle's secondary magic is reading emotions between people and using what she sees there to her advantage. So they also discuss the plan to try and steal the cauldron, which involves breaking out of this suite, finding the hidden room where Estelle keeps her prized possessions. And Graves, he just assures Kierse, like, you know what, we can do this. I got security handled, thanks to George. There's an exit through the window on the roof. And while you're stealing the cauldron, I'll just cover the exit. No big deal. It's going to be so easy. And we're like, this is the beginning of the book. There's no way this is going to be that easy. And if it is, then like, what's next? Like, I don't understand. And also, I'm like, the book is called The Robin on the Oak Throne. I'm like, where is this? Like, we're in France. What's going on?
What's going on? Yeah.
And so George, of course, Graves is like, I hire people for more than one talent, because George is really good at security too. He has his security system down and like gives Kierse the signal. She takes off, finds the door to the room she's looking for because she can just sense all the magic tied to it. And then she gets in this room and suddenly she sees Graves lying dead on the floor. And immediately she's like, oh my God, like this is real. Like what? How did this happen? But then she starts to use logic and realize, no, Graves is too powerful for this to have happened. And like, there's not enough time for this to actually have gone down. So then she steps over the threshold and the illusion disappears. And Estelle is actually right there waiting for her. And Kierse's magic is pretty much depleted at that point.
So during this interaction between Estelle and Kierse, we learn quite a bit. So Estelle already knew about Kierse and believes that she's immune to magic, which is kind of what we thought in the very beginning of the previous book. So she assumed that Graves would bring Kierse to her to try and steal the cauldron. Well, cauldron isn't at Estelle's. This entire thing was a test for Kierse and not Graves, which I'm like, Estelle seems to want to collect Kierse for some reason, but Kierse mentions not being for sale. And I'm like, What does Estelle want to do with Kierse and why? We don't, it's not mentioned the rest of the book, but it's something that I think might come up later.
Yeah. But then also I was thinking like, well, she's working for the curator in a way because the curator has the
Ooh,
cauldron.
that's
So I'm
true.
like, is the curator trying to get Kierse? Which,
Which we learn is yes.
yes. So then it's like, is Estelle like, yeah, working as that middle woman, if you will?
Maybe.
But I don't know.
Does
Maybe Estelle
everyone
has
work for the
a,
curator?
I know, seriously. Maybe. Ooh.
Maybe. So if Kyr's can answer Estelle's riddle, then Estelle will provide her the information that she wants. And if she can't, then Kyr's has to give her the truth about what's going on and who she is. And basically, it's this long kind of riddle. Kyr's answers it with the word sacrifice. And then Estelle tries to allude to Kyr's about how she's Graves' sacrificial lamb and how he was just using Kyr's to get information. And this is also something that we see happen to Kyr's multiple times in this book with different characters where they try and almost like turn her on Graves and make her think like they kind of mind fuck her, right? Like, and that's what
Yeah.
Estelle is doing, trying to make her not trust Graves, which like right at this point in the book does not take much effort.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, that's pretty easy. I'm like, okay, you're right. I'm not going to trust him.
So, and then Estelle hands Kirsten an envelope. That's her prize, which is going to be the information about the cauldron, and requests that Kirsten give back the jewelry she's been stealing from Estelle while in the room, right? Because we know that she like replenishes her magic by stealing, which I think is kind of hilarious.
I love the idea. She's just walking around the room, just like picking up stuff like, I'll take that ring, I'll take that bracelet, I'll take that hairpin. Boop, boop. And you're just like,
Putting things in her
girl.
pocket. Girl.
Yeah. So funny.
So then Kyr's goes to the exit that Graves mentioned, and he is nowhere in sight, which initially like made me think that like what Estelle said was right, and he was using Kyr's one again. And I like once again, I was so pissed. But then like
Yeah.
he quickly shows up, like when Kyr starts to slide off the roof. We also see them argue where like she accuses Graves of knowing the cauldron wasn't there. And he was like, I didn't know. And they
Yeah.
talk about how Estelle called her a sacrificial lamb, which Graves like tries to assure her, you aren't that to me whatsoever. And then that's when they open it up, the envelope, we learn that the cauldron is being auctioned off at an event in New York. And I was like, of course it is.
Right.
Of
Yeah.
course it is.
So I guess we're going to have to travel back to New York at some point. So they go to Graves' place in Paris, which is actually really being renovated.
So he
And
wasn't lying.
He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. And we're like, okay, all right, very good. And it has a very lovely view of the Eiffel Tower. We're like, okay, I don't mind this. This is good. And of course, there's only one room that they can use, and it has one bed. Cue the internal screaming, hoping for a spicy scene. I'm like, one bed trope? Are we there? Are we there? Is it happening? And Kierce acts like they definitely can't share a bed. And you're like, oh, please, come on. But then Graves starts taking off his clothes, causing Graves to question if she's affected by him. And Kierce refuses to admit it and says, it's fine, they can share a bed, like whatever. And you're like, communicate, people. Come on. Like, you both clearly want each other, and it's been 5 months. Like, come on. Are you in a dry spell? Like, let's go. Just do it. So then they're in bed, and Graves opens up about his past and admits to making mistakes, including with Kierce. And we're like, oh my goodness. He is sort of communicating, like not fully, but And
Progress.
he says, yeah, it's progress. He says, I wish I could rewrite my life with you in it. And then he proceeds to ask her if she's missed him the past few months and how he just says there's going to be no more lies between us. And he starts to touch her and ends up giving her an orgasm before they fall asleep. And we're like, okay, yes, a little bit spice there. Thank you. I wanted more. You got a 4-poster bed. Come on, let's go.
Right?
And a view of the Eiffel Tower. Like, that's the best. But okay, at least we got a little orgasm. That'll do. And then while sleeping, Kierce has the first of many nightmares that we see in this book about her parents and what really happened to them and to her. We don't learn much in the first nightmare except that Kierce knew there were wards up protecting them, and all of a sudden the wards were down. And her father made her hide under the floorboard. Graves then has to like yell at her and shake her to wake her up from this nightmare because she's just like screaming uncontrollably. And he starts to ask her about the nightmare because her magic was drained enough that he could read her mind when he touched her when he was like trying to wake her up. So it was unintentionally reading her mind. And this is when Graves says he believes that she's starting to remember because the spell hiding her Fey heritage has been broken, like when they had the Sword of Truth. So it's like now everything's coming back.
And that's when Kierse drops, I would say, like a little bomb. And she tells Graves that she stole the bracelet to get a coin to go to the Ning market, which is also known as the Goblin Market. Shocker. He's not thrilled. Didn't see that
No,
coming.
no. He's like, you want to go into the Goblin Market? Like, what? No,
Like,
bad
crazy girl.
idea.
Bad idea.
Don't go there. Mhm.
So at first, I assumed he was just kind of being his typical, like, protective self. But after learning more about the Goblin Market in this book, he was like 100% right. She should not have gone down there. So Graves offers to help Kierse retrieve her memories rather than like having her go to the Goblin Market, but she refuses because she doesn't trust him in her mind because he previously hid her identity from her, which like I get, but also like let that go.
Yeah.
So Graves is like, fine, I'll just go with you to the Goblin Market because he says he'll always have her back whenever she's at risk. I think he proves that numerous times in this book. So then we have like our first interlude of the book. So that kind of theme is carrying over again. We see Estelle meet up with the queen. We also learn that Estelle is the one who introduced Montreal to Graves and watched his world implode, causing her to win that game. And I'm like, what kind of crazy ass games do the two of you play? Sweet God.
Seriously. You're like, oh, fuck.
Right? Like that is not what I thought we were playing.
This is not
And
Twister.
Correct. And then, like, Graves won the game that resulted in the queen having a consort and keeping her away from Estelle, who was her lover. And I'm just like, are you trying to emotionally destroy each other? Because I don't, like, did not sign up for this.
I mean, you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. That's
Touche.
what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, you know, that's like a kid version of like, fuck around and find out, you know?
True.
It's
Well,
not
they
so great.
fucked around and they found out.
Mm-hmm. So the second section of this book is called The Robin, which aligns with the title. And we learned about who the Robin is to the Oak King. Definitely shocked about this person's identity, but we'll get to that one later. So Graves and Kierse head to Ireland on his private plane, of course. And it turns out Graves is not welcomed in Ireland. So like once they're in Dublin, they had to go to Kierse's apartment that she has with Jen. And we get to see Jen and Kierse catch up a little bit. And Jen is making it very clear that she really wants Kierse to sleep with Graves again at some point. And we're like, okay, girl, like you living vicariously through your friend. But yeah, we also hope this happens again too. You're right. So then Neve shows up at their door and we get a major surprise. She, at first, you know, ends up being like one of their good friends that they just happen to meet somewhere. But no, Neve is also the Oak King's Robin. I'm like, what?
What?
And Graves, like, literally, like, confronts her about it and is like, you need to get the fuck out of here. Because it turns out Lorcan did send Neve to watch over the girls, but she claims she's not reporting to him. So, like, okay, I don't really know if that's any better because Graves, you were spying on Kierse too, but, like, at least you didn't have someone pose as their friend to do it. You know, like, you were just straight up, like, doing it yourself, you know? So I'm like, I don't know. But here's what we learned about Neve. So Neve is a high priestess and never told them. So you're like, okay, that's rude. But like she was trying to train Jen as much as she could ever since Jen learned that she was a high priestess. And Lorcan made it seem like Kierse was being controlled by Graves, but that's not at all what Neve saw when she met them. So she befriended them because she originally saw two lost girls just trying to navigate the city and wanted help. And she's like, I gotta help these girls. Like, I gotta stick up for them. And she legit has not been sharing any information with Lorcan. So we're kind of like, Neve, you might be a good person. Okay.
And it was really hard for me because in this moment, I'm like, do we trust her? Do we not trust her? Like, I don't know what to do.
I don't know. There's a lot of that throughout this book where it's like, maybe I do like you. Like, not with Neve, but like other people, you're like, okay, maybe you are telling the truth. Like, maybe Graves has been fucking with all of our minds this whole time.
Right? Or maybe
And
not.
like,
And maybe you're the bad guy. Like, what is it?
yeah, don't know what to believe.
So the Nevix suggests that they go visit Ocean together. Ocean?
Yeah.
Ocean together, and he'll tell the truth. And he happens to own a bookstore and knows both Lorcan and Graves. And so here's what we learn. So he's a mortal who fell in love with a fae. named Nev, not the same person, just to clarify, different one. And we learn more about like kind of that story, which makes me question like, is this going to be important later, or is this like just a backstory that isn't really relevant? Because there are times I think throughout this book where we learn more about people's backstories that I'm not sure like if it's going to play another role later in the book or if it's just more to tell us about their character. And this is one of those.
Yeah.
So one of the other things we learn is that Nev is in the name that she chose for herself. We're talking about the current Robin today.
Yeah.
Ocean has been giving Kierse books about Fae and Wisp so she can learn more, which makes me very curious what he has been guiding her towards, maybe what he's been guiding her away from. And he agrees that the Goblin Market is a horrible place and Kierse shouldn't go. And I'm like, so literally no one has said that you should go here.
Yeah. Everyone's
Why?
saying, let's not go there. This is a bad place. This is a bad idea. She's like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Cool.
Cool. So time to go to the Goblin Market, and most people get in by eating goblin fruit, which is apparently like the most addictive substance on the planet. So basically a drug, and you definitely don't want to eat it because you can't apparently stop. And so that's why it was so important for Kierse to steal the bracelet so she can get a coin in order to get in there. So there's a little bit of drama about trading the bracelet for the coin, but like it all ends up working out. Kierse can enter the market. Nev also happens to have a coin, and Graves has one too, so they get to come with her. And all I'm like, is that coin one of the ones that was in the safe at Graves' home? Because we know in the first book, she saw that weird coin that she'd never seen before. And I'm like, was it because it wasn't for the Goblin Market? Because we know he kind of has one at home, and like like George carries one on him too.
Yeah.
So,
but also here's my question. If you guys just have these extra coins lying around, why didn't you just offer that? Like, why did she have to go through all that trouble of stealing the bracelet?
Well, maybe they just had one and they didn't. I don't know. Great question.
Right? I'm just like, wait, you have these coins? Like
how many do you have?
Can I have one? Like,
right.
Do I have to not steal? Can I just give you a blowjob, Graves, and you give me a coin? Like, great. You know?
probably would have just given it to her for no reason too.
Right. So it's like, I could have saved myself all this trouble. You're like, well.
All right. So let's deep dive into everything that happens in the Goblin Market. They're looking for a bookkeeper named Rio, because apparently bookkeepers can help you find anything you want in the market. I'm like, okay, so kind of like a Yellow Pages. Sounds great. But in person. And then they specifically mentioned there are 7 openings to the Goblin Market. And I think this is going to be important later. And I don't know why, but I do think it's going to come up again. So Dublin, New York City, Shanghai, and we see all 3 of those in this book. Sao Paulo, Istanbul, Rome, and Lagos. And so I'm just like, where are the others going to come into play?
Yeah, and they describe it as being like a wheel. So you go in one way. It's just like crazy.
And the goblins didn't build the market. Something great and powerful did, like a long lost god. But after that god left the realm, and I think this is important because it's the first kind of mention we kind of get, like Ocean talked about a realm a little bit. This is another mention of a realm. And so then this market was left abandoned. So the goblins took it over, figured out that this goblin fruit would power the doors to the market to stay open. Gross.
Yeah.
And then the coin that you use to enter the market only allows you to enter and exit through the same entrance. So you can't like come in through New York City and then leave through Dublin, but you can go from New York City to Dublin, but you can only exit back through like wherever, if you came in through New York as an example.
Yeah.
And then they don't know where to find this bookkeeper. And so Kierse is like, let's go to a bar, because that's where she typically, as we saw in the previous book, would go to learn information. And Graves takes them to a bar to meet up with this contact that he trusts. And on the way there, they have to fight some goblins. They end up being chased by them. Like, never a dull moment in this goblin market.
Right. For sure. Always going to be crazy in there. So then they meet Graves' friend. His name is Vale. And he's basically just a mercenary who knows enough magic to be dangerous and knows the inner workings of the goblin market better than anyone. He is also actually the child of a warlock. So he has limited magic and is otherwise human. Another goblin then shows up at the bar with a tablet showing a picture of Graves because there's a bounty on his head. Very curious, who put this bounty on his head? And like, it's really high. It's like 2 million goblin marks. And so basically everybody there's like, I want a piece of him. And there's more fighting.
What did he do?
Right? It's like, yeah, what did you do? Is this why you didn't want to go in the goblin market? Because you knew this was going to happen. And like, just crazy shit. So there's more fighting with the goblins at the bar. Kierse ends up getting stabbed and then gets saved by Vale. Kierse passes out and they take her to Vale's safe house. And she wakes up to find Neve healing her. So again, Neve can heal because she's a high priestess. So Graves tries to convince Kierse to give up on this quest since she almost died. But, Kierse is stubborn and refuses. She's like, no, I gotta do things the hard way. So then once Kierse is healed, Vale takes them to the bookkeeper's location. And we also learn that Graves offered Vale a set of armor for his help. No one seems to be willing to help Graves without getting paid. So maybe that's just like something on his end that like he's not trustworthy with other people too. So we get to see our first goblin hound, whose saliva is acidic until they can like learn to control their venom. Or like, okay, I don't want to pet that dog. Like I do, but I don't. Because like literally Kierse is like, oh, puppy. And the guy's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And just like slobber, just like goes through the floors. And you're like, oh shit. No, thank you.
All I thought was, I love dogs, and look at the goblin market fucking ruining dogs. Like,
right?
What?
So rude. And like, it doesn't even sound like it's cute either. It sounds very not cute. So just another reason to hate the goblin market at this point. And Rio already knows about Kierse and what she paid to get into the market, as well as what happened to her in the market so far. We're like, how do you know these things? What are you talking about? And he also makes a comment about what Neve traded for as well, but we don't learn yet what it is, which makes us have a lot of questions and curious about this being another breadcrumb. He also, I believe, turns and says the same thing to Graves. He's like, I know what you traded too. We're like, what did he trade? We find out later and we're like, oh shit. So Rio wants a vial of Kierse's blood in order to give her the information that she wants. Or he will ask her 3 questions, and if she answers truthfully, then he'll tell her. So Kierse is like, I've already done the blood thing before with Dr. Mifa, so no thanks, Dr. Mafi. And he's like, okay, I'll take the questions, So Kierse has to give him information about where the bracelet is currently in the market too. So Kierse agrees to answer all 3 questions. First question is, what is your name? Easy. Great. Second question, what's the nature of your magic? Absorption? Okay. Third question, what type of monster are you? And Graves gets pretty pissed off at Rio and tells him, like, Kierse is a warlock. But Kierse finally tells the truth that she's a wisp. She's like, you know what? Like, he already knows. I just have to admit it. Like, whatever. This kind of reminds me of Monty Python. Like, what is your favorite color? Blue. No, green. Ah! So I'm just like, too funny. So then Rio's like, fine, and gives Kierse a piece of paper with information on Riz to get what she needs. Riz just happens to be in Shanghai. So we got to travel through our little like goblin market to Shanghai. So they have to take this elevator up to the Shanghai goblin market. And it's super crowded. And there's tons of people eating goblin fruit. And we see Kierse have a panic attack basically inside this glass elevator when this girl like who's eating goblin fruit like freaks out and like drips goblin fruit juices onto Kierse. No, because she's like, it's great, take it. Kierse is like, get the fuck away from me. Ew. It's like you have a spider on you and you're like, oh, get it off, get it off, get it off.
Or you're like at a concert and there's like someone next to you that's super drunk sloshing their beer all over you.
You're just like, oh, stop, dude, gross. Graves is able to clean her up and calm her down. He's like, you're good. You're not going to be addicted to goblin fruit. You're okay. And so they find Riz's shop. They learn he is Rio's brother. And he does have the memory potion that they need. And his partner actually yells at him about payment because apparently Riz just likes to give things away. And Riz's wife says, it'll cost $250,000. And Graves is like, all right, done. No problem. Doesn't even negotiate. And like, Kierse, can you see, like, Graves will do anything for you. He'll do whatever it takes to help you. Also, money's not like a problem for him. It's easy. So I think at that point, actually, Riz's wife was probably like, damn it, I should have asked for more. You know? Like, can I negotiate up more? So Riz gives the 3 potion bottles that she can use to try and get her memory back, but she has to take it in a specific order.
So they leave the market. They get back to Jen's apartment where Kierse and Jen are living. And Kierse immediately wants to test out the potion. And I'm like, doesn't anyone need a break from all this drama? Like, you got stabbed. You've been running around the goblin market. Like,
You
chill.
almost pet a dog with acidic saliva. Like, let's chill.
Let's chill. And so we take instead of taking the dangerous potion, like, immediately. So, but before getting started, Jen like looks at her tarot cards and pulls one out that has a magician on it. And that, according to Jen, indicates that she believes Kierse needs Graves to be her anchor when she takes these potions. And this is like kind of like another iteration of like we are like, does Jen like Graves? Like not like that way, but like is she on Graves' side and like kind of advocating for him and Kierse together? Which kind
Yeah,
of
she
feels that way.
team Graves now? Team
I
Graves,
think
not Team
so.
Lorcan? Yeah.
I was never Team Lorcan. At the end of this book, I was like 1,000% never ever wanting to be Team Lorcan. It's fucking. We'll get to that. Ugh. Anyway, so Kierse takes the potions. She starts to get some of her memories back. We learn a couple of different things. She's a child in the memory, so it is from when she was younger. Her father has, and this is described in a lot of detail, a tattoo of a wooded landscape, snake down his arm, a horned stag proud and prominent near his elbow, and the whole thing intertwined with a trinity knot at the wrist. And I'm like, okay, there was too much detail for that not to be important later. It feels like a major like tattoo breadcrumb. And then her mother, Shannon, comes in with groceries, complaining about how her father needs to stop teaching Kierse how to steal. So we learn that Kierse's stealing comes by her, honestly, thanks to her father who initially trained her, not just Jason.
Which is funny because he's also like so proud. He's like, "Oh, my little thief, like you didn't get caught. Like I'm so proud
Good
of you."
job.
And you're like, like a true mom is just like, "No, let's not teach her to do that, please."
Like not helpful. It's like
Not
when your
helpful.
husband like teaches your kids how to burp or like spit or fart or something on command, and I'm like, no.
Why? No.
He's like, but isn't it cute? I'm like, no, it's cute when they're like 2. It's not cute when they're 10 and still doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
So Shannon mentions that she heard from her contact that they'll have a location to meet someone tonight. They're very concerned about Kierse's safety. And then the part that I did not see coming, which is Kierse and her parents are in Graves' house. And I screamed out loud because I was like,
Oh,
what? And I immediately thought, like, he's known this the entire time. That motherfucker is what I think.
I was so fucking pissed. I was like, "You're keeping more secrets?"
Like, this is way worse.
Yeah. Oh, so
Especially
bad.
because, like, prior to this point, we thought Kierse's mom died in childbirth, which she has told Graves in the previous book. And I'm just like, what is going on? So we learn that according to Shannon, Kierse is in danger and the fake killer is onto them. Adair, her father, gives Graves a hunting knife that has the stag symbol on it inside a trinity knot in order to barter with him. Graves suggests they leave Kierse with him because then she would be safe. And I'm like, interesting, but they refuse. And I'm very curious why he wanted to like Kierse to be with him and how he thought he could protect her. Like, did he feel some sort of pull or connection to her then?
Yeah. But
And
also,
then
you're kind of like, you see, he's a good guy. It's like he
Yes.
wants to help an innocent child. And you're like, okay, all right, you have a soul. You have a, okay.
you have no matter what people say, right? And then he tells them about a spell that would work on a child before they develop their powers. So it would work on Kierse, but not on Shannon. And then there is a mention of Lorcan potentially being able to help them, but Shannon's like, we can't go to him. So I'm like, okay, what? Shannon's a wisp. Why can't she go to Lorcan? Because allegedly Wisper's so special to him and his people. Like, wouldn't he want to help them? And I'm like, there has to be more to this story. And like further in the book, I'm convinced. And we're gonna go to Crazy Town. Just bear with us about theories because I have went off the deep end when it comes to Lorcan because I fucking hate him.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, like your mom Shannon does not trust Lorcan. Like, you should not trust Lorcan.
Right? Exactly.
Like, don't.
So, and then supposedly this guy named Cillian Ryan, who's a rogue
Killian.
druid. Killian? God. This
Killian.
is why, okay, Killian Ryan, I have a
I
problem.
got you.
Thank you. He's a rogue druid, and he has the spell. And then Graves also gives them this amulet, which they can trade for some money. And Kierse kind of knows that like the knife was not worth probably this information about Killian Ryan and this spell, let alone getting the amulet. So he is once again trying to help them.
Yep. And you're like, okay, all right, good guy, hopefully. So we get another interlude then that involves Ocean. And we learn that he is the one who introduced Graves and Lorcan. And we see him call Lorcan to tell him about Graves being there. And I'm just like, aw, dude, Ocean, are you gonna be the bad guy here too? Like, you're on Lorcan's side, this is not good. But Ocean says he would do anything to restore the Fae, anything to get back to them, even betraying the trust of the last one living in the mortal world. What the fuck? Like, okay, how are you helping the Wisps by betraying Kierse? It's just like, I understand your background and like why you want to get back to like the fairy world, but like, dude, so rude. And then also, like, Neve didn't need to send any information to Lorcan because Ocean was doing it all this time. We're like, trust no one. Trust no one. So then the next section of the book is called The Oak Throne. We're like, oh, okay, we got the Robin. Now we're in the Oak Throne. So it opens up with Kierse confronting Graves about helping her parents. And of course, rightly so. We're also like, what? And he initially just doesn't remember it because he's like, tell me your parents' name. Like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, oh my God. He's like, Edgar told me that your parents died. Like, I followed up on those people and even the child. And he's like, I thought they all died. He's like, I never put two and two together because I thought they died. I thought your mother, like, so we're like, is it Edgar we can't trust now? Is Edgar a bad guy? Or are we just like assuming like that's what he was told? I don't know. So this is why Graves just never went looking for Kierse again and didn't think she was the same girl when he met her a few months ago. Especially again, considering like she didn't seem to have any magic and her mom died in childbirth. But it's like, how crazy is it that they met so long ago? Like, you've literally met as a child. Feels a lot more like fated mates now. Or like, sorry, Lorcan, I don't know. These people seem to be very connected. So finally, Kierse asks Graves to help her get back to the rest of her memories, and she'll help him steal the cauldron. However, she is still struggling with fully trusting him, and he commits to trying to earn her trust back, which we've seen him try to do so far in this book. We're like, okay, so far so good. He reiterates that he will prove that he's here for her. It's really hard not to fall more in love with him, even though he's like morally gray. Like, okay, he actually might be here for the right reasons, you know?
I know. I think morally gray is my favorite color.
I love it. So good.
So good. So we see Kierse, Graves, Jen, and Nev are all back in New York City thanks to Graves' private jet. And all I thought was, how awkward was that flight with both Graves and Nev on it, like in this confined space when they like clearly don't like each other. So she heads back to Brooklyn to stay with the Druids and Lorcan, while Kierse and Jen decide to stay with Graves. And even though Kierse has reservations about Graves, she still picks him every single time over Lorcan. Like, we see her continue to do that. Because, as a reminder, Lorcan tried to kill her, or his people did, and her friends multiple times.
Right? Like this guy has no honor. I'm sorry.
Or no memory, because I'm just like, dude.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like, okay.
One guy lied to you about your heritage, and the other tried to kill you multiple times. I don't know. Which one should I pick? Hard choices. Not really. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we get to meet Lazarus Cates, or Laz, who we saw reference at the very end of the first book. He reached out to Graves at the end about having this lead on the cauldron. So what's more fascinating to me at this point is that Graves has prepped Kierse on meeting with Laz. So he really is starting to include her in every aspect of this plan, unlike before. And then she also learns that Graves has told Laz about her too. Because, you know, Laz is like, I've heard about you. And I'm just like, it's like that moment, like when you're introducing like someone you're dating to a friend and they're like, oh, we know all about you. Like, we've heard about you.
Yeah. And you're like, I hope that's good.
I hope it's right. Like,
That's
what
what
have
I
you
also
heard?
would be like. I'm like, only the good stuff is true. The bad stuff is fake. You're
Or
like,
it's kind of like they're like, we've heard about you, and I'm like, what have you stalked on social media about me?
right, yeah. It's like, I'm on private. What are you talking about?
We're talking about. So it turns out the cauldron's gonna be auctioned off at this midnight frolic. And at first I was like, that sounds great, like a frolic, yay. And then we learn
Frolic.
that sounds like a fun time. A frolic is like a gentleman's club meets nightclub, except things get rowdy. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but like I'm very curious now.
You know what it actually reminded me of? It reminded me of the movie Moulin Rouge,
Yes. Ooh.
where it's like they put on the musical, but it's also like a sex house. So you're
Yeah.
like, okay,
Okay.
I'll
So
take
like
it.
at this point, like I wouldn't expect anything less because I mean we've done some crazy stuff in this book. And so Laz has done his homework. He has a list of attendees, and he gets to bring in Schwartz too, who we learn later and meet him in the book. And so Graves is like expanding his little group of people that he's including in his plan, which is kind of like a big deal for him, I feel like.
He's got a team,
He's got
like Ocean
like a
11.
yes. A Graves, however many we'd have to count them up and see how many people end up being on the team.
Yeah.
So back at the mansion, um crap, Isolde?
He's
Yeah.
old.
Isolde. Isolde. Isolde is ecstatic to see Kierse. She tells Graves, I'm glad you brought our girl back. And I was like, oh,
Family.
little family.
Precious.
Especially because, like, you have to know, and we saw this a little bit at the end of the previous book, like how devastated Graves was and probably how difficult to deal with he was when Kierse was gone. So she's
Yeah.
probably like, thank you for bringing our girl back. I love her. But also, oh my God, you will not be a horrific monster to deal with.
You'll be actually like, nice, maybe
Nice.
ish. Who knows?
Ish.
Nice. Yeah. So let's talk about what else we learn when we get back to Graves's mansion. Because, a mansion, of course. He's got a house in Paris. He's got a house in, just great.
Where
So
else does he have homes?
I'm sure he has one in every single place where the
Ooh.
Goblin Market comes out. So he probably has a place in Shanghai, Sao Paulo, all those
Rome.
places.
Okay, I want to see them all.
Yeah, let's go. So Jen apparently has had some type of previous relationship with Ronan, who just happens to be Nate's second. And we're like, I see you. Something's going on here, girlfriend.
Good for you.
Right? Yeah, good for you, honey. Kingston has sent Graves flowers with a note chastising him for not stopping by when he was on his side of the pond. That feels like a threat. I feel like Kingston is not someone who should be ignored. And Graves suggests Kierse keep the spear in the vault, and he gives Kierse access to it. He also says that Kierse will have access to anything that she wants while she is there, including him. Yeah, thank you.
I hope so.
I hope so. And so the next day, Kierse goes to see Graves in the library, and the cat, Anne, isn't happy to see her, of course. I'm still not convinced that she's not really Anne Boleyn, like in a cat's body. So even though Graves claims that the cat was sulking for months, missing her, the cat is not showing it. She's giving her the cold shoulder. And then Edgar shows Graves his memory of learning Kierse and her parents dying. And it clearly shows 3 bodies, including a young girl. So I'm like, did someone tamper with this scene? Perhaps it was an illusion. Did Estelle come in here? Because there was a woman's voice.
Right?
Oh, snap. And Graves trusts Edgar. So I'm like, okay, there's no reason not to believe him. Maybe.
I know the intentional use of the word illusion there. I was like, and it has to be something tied to Estelle, right? Otherwise, why did we meet her?
Right? Yeah, it's like, what was her purpose in this whole entire thing? And Graves believes that Kierse should see Dr. Maffei to make sure there isn't something else going on with her brain, considering how many times she's been thrown off buildings and like gotten hurt. And I'm like, you know what? He's not wrong. Like,
It's not.
let's check this out. And he's like, I got an appointment set up for you for next week. Let's just see what happens. And Kierse tells him that she's headed to see Colette and Ethan, which means she'll see Lorcan. And Graves touches her necklace and then kisses her, giving her a reminder before she goes. And you're like, okay.
Damn. Well done. So Kierse and Jen head to see Colette, and they take the subway and have an interaction with the subway troll demanding payment. And like at the time, I was like, oh, like we've already seen this. There was I would say more attention put on it than I thought was probably necessary at first. But it's to remind you of their presence. So when they're gone later in the book, you notice it more. Like it becomes more of a stark change. They also notice that Times Square is bustling again. There's been a lot of change in a few months since they've been gone. Because right before, 5 months ago, Times Square was pretty dead still. So I'm
Yeah.
like, what has been going on in this world? So while visiting Colette, Corey stops by. We learn that him and Ethan broke up, which is pretty shocking because they felt very connected, like soulmates type of like relationship in the previous book. And Corey hasn't seen him in 5 months. No one has seen Ethan. And I'm like, is Ethan, at first I was like, is Ethan alive?
Yeah. Is he okay?
Is he okay?
Uh-oh.
So, and that's why Kierse is going to go see Ethan because she knows, like, it's just going to go alone, which Jen doesn't love, but she knows Lorcan will let her in. And I love Jen because she's like, that's because he's obsessed with you. You're not wrong, Jen. You're
Not
not
wrong.
wrong. I feel like
Say it
people
like
should
it is.
listen to Jen more.
Yeah.
She knows what's going on. So she arrives in Brooklyn. She's 2 blocks from where she's supposed to meet Nev, and she's greeted by a gun being held at her head by Declan, who makes her come inside. And all I thought is like, Lorcan, one would think you wouldn't want Kierse being held at gunpoint again. But this does seem to be like the go-to behavior for the druids. And then thankfully, like, Nev shows up and takes Kierse with her since Kierse is like, she calls her guest. And I'm just like, I don't know how we're supposed to like Lorcan, like, at all, ever.
Yeah. And we also don't like Declan at this point. Like, he's being a dick.
No.
He's also being
Yes.
a dick to Neve. And we're just like, they have some animosity between the two of them. So let's also talk a little bit more about what we learned during this visit. So Neve and Kierse visit Lorcan in his office. And of course, he knew that she was coming. And he literally calls her his little songbird. And you're like, is this cute? I don't know. I don't know if I like this nickname. Like,
I don't. It gives me creepy old man vibes.
It really does. And Lorcan claims he wants her approval. And Kierse is like, well, you have to earn it. I'm like, well, step one would be stop having people greet her with guns to her face. Like, step one. That might be the simplest thing you could do.
The bar is so low.
Yeah, yeah. And he makes a creepy comment saying how good it is that my girls are friendly. To which Neve responds, like the good old days? And it's like, oh, like that's a breadcrumb for what we learn later about Lorcan, Neve, and Lorcan's wife, who is dead. And Lorcan takes Kierse to see Ethan and mentions he is an acolyte in training. So apparently it just takes years to become a full druid. He's like, the first line of training in becoming a druid is removing attachments to the physical world. Hello, that's a cult. Cult. So because of that, like that's why no one's heard from him in 5 months. Ethan is in training and has definitely become stronger since Kierse has been gone. Like he's got like muscles now. Like, oh, hello. Good for you.
Good for you, Corey, eventually.
I know. And Ethan's glad to see her, but then he asks about Corey. And you're like, how's my man? How's my boyfriend? And he's like, well, I'm supposed to get out in a month. And I hope, Corey will see me then. And it's like, well, we'll see. I hope. He does. And then Ethan tells Kierse that the druids aren't her enemy. Okay. That's like what every cult member says. Or like good little soldier, as Kierse calls him. And supposedly Ethan has learned some stuff about Graves while he's been there and clearly thinks that Graves is the enemy. He even makes a comment about not being able to trust Kierse if she is working with Graves again. And then he leaves and goes back to training. And you're just like, dude, come on. Like, you're going to really be with the guy that, like, has threatened to kill you multiple times? Whatever.
Yes, apparently.
So dumb. So Lorcan did know Kierse's parents, apparently. And we also learned her mother's last name. Oh, I might butcher this one. Karen.
I think that's good.
Karen. Yeah, I think it's Karen. And he claims to have known of her, but like never met them. Lorcan's wife was also a wisp named Sorsha. And they had 2 sons, Torin and Gannon, who also were both wisps. So supposedly, Killian Ryan was a druid who destroyed this beautiful sacred tree called Sansara. And it had roots that were nearly like as old as time. And he just drained all the power from this tree, leaving it to nothing but ash. And we're all just kind of like, well, what happened? Like, why did he do it? Who knows? And Lorcan heard that Killian was killed in the monster war. He then takes her to see the oak throne. And we're like, oh, that's a nice throne. But then he's like, it could be yours. You could be my queen, my oak queen. And he's like, you could live here with me. Like you and Jen and Ethan, like you can have access to me and I'll teach you everything I know about the wisps because I'm like, I know everything about them. And you're like, I don't know. You kind of creep me out. I don't know. I don't like you. He then, he offers to train her because he also was once part of a Triskel. And we're like, wait, what?
What?
He's like, but I'll tell you more about that when you come back to me. And you're like, don't leave that breadcrumb that you were part of a Triskel. And that, so, I mean, I get it. It's very tempting at this point to like Lorcan because you're like, well, maybe he could help her with all these things. Like maybe he could be a good guy. I don't know. At this point, I'm not still in love with Graves, but I'm also like, I'm torn. I'm also torn at this point. Who do I trust?
At this point, I hated Lorcan. Like, I hate Lorcan so strongly.
I mean, I definitely don't like him, but I'm like trying to give him the benefit of the doubt at this point. Like, maybe he's not that bad.
You're better than I was because I was like, everything you said to me gave me creepy old man vibes. I was like, I hate you. I feel like you are a master manipulator. I feel like you are. It's kind of like, it's if you've ever like dated someone where they're like, oh well, I'll tell you like how I feel about you the next time I see you, or like they cause you to want to like see them again or give them something extra. Like I feel like that's what he's doing every time he talks to her, and I'm like, oh, I hate you.
Yes. Like knowing now what happens at the end, I hate him. But at this point in the book, I was like, well,
because felt like honestly, he might still be a good guy.
Yeah. Like I'm honestly ruined from Akatar because I fell in love with Tamlin and then it turned out Tamlin was the asshole the whole time. Like I question everything. I'm like, is she going to flip the switch on us? Is that what Linde is going to do? Like, I don't know.
Right? Whereas I'm like, I fucking hate Lorcan. I hope he dies. Like he's like the cult leader. Oh,
I know.
So back at Graves' mansion, we learn that Graves went through druid training, which I did not expect whatsoever. He's also surprised to learn that Killian drained that special tree, Sansara, which would explain why the spell lasted so long and was so powerful in Kierse. And then Graves like wants to know what else Lorcan asked for, and Kierse tells him about how Lorcan offered to give her the world. Training, magic, a family, and a throne, which does sound very sexy when you say it that way. And then we finally get another spicy scene because this book has been like a slow burn for us once again. And Graves ends up finger fucking and going down on Kierse in the library. And once again, we're never going to think about libraries in the same way. Just can't. Then the best part is that Jen comes in afterwards because she heard noises. And Graves didn't use his Norse distortion power because he wanted everyone to hear them. And I'm like, God damn it, that's hot.
That's really hot. He's like, I want really everyone to hear how I pleasure you. It's like, I will give you the world and more.
Right? And then he like proves it. So the entire house can hear. So then it's time for Kierse to work with Graves on getting her memory back. And we learn some more from this session. So Kierse needs to work on lowering her absorptions and then like also like building up her mental fortitude, what's interesting about this is I find that like he's playing chess again, right? Like he wants her to build up like her mental shields to protect her from people like him and Lorcan. And so one of the other things we learn is while practicing, Kierse ends up somehow touching like Graves's magic, which is how a wisp has killed a warlock in the past. Apparently you touch the warlock's magic and then you drain it. And I'm like, that sounds not great for either person.
Uh-oh.
So Kierse lowers her absorption and immediately thinks of Graves going down on her, and he's able to see that memory. And she's like, I don't want you to see memories like that. And I'm like, girl, he doesn't need to see the memories. He was there.
Yeah, right. Like he has the same one from his perspective.
Correct. Like, what do you mean? But it's kind of like, I feel like she's still in this, like, I mean, I let you do that to me, but I don't want you to, like, know that I'm thinking about it again. I'm like, girl, he knows you were thinking about it again. You were screaming his name earlier. Like,
we're all thinking about it.
Correct. Like, own it.
Yes.
So they try again. Kierse focuses on a scene with her parents, and she starts to get, like, a little more information. Like, it was winter, but then that starts, because it's winter, it sends her to thinking about the night. Like, she almost died in the fight between Lorcan and Graves because she associates winter with him. And like that should have been a clue that like when she thinks about something and it associates to something else, like there's more to that story. It makes me also wonder if that's another breadcrumb. Because we
Yeah.
see right later, like she has the images of her parents, and then we see Jason. And I'm like, this is the other time where it happens, but it's her, Lorcan, and Graves. And so I feel like there's more to that that's going to come out later.
Yeah.
And every time they do this, she learns a little bit more. We learned about someone named Maureen, who's a WISP council member who was there that night. She also sees Jason's face after she's jailed later in her life when she's like a teen and assumes it's because she felt trapped in both scenarios. And later we learn that's not why, right? And then her parents, likely her mom, killed Maureen and were headed to New York with someone named Bram. And she mentions like that's like the first time she saw a dead body. I have a lot of questions about that scene though, because the name Maureen comes up later in the book, as Lorcan's becoming Lorcan's second. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Kaylin, there was a lot of names in this world that you could have picked. Why would you have used the same name twice?
Yeah. It's like, is that the same Maureen?
Right. So.
And who? And Bram.
We don't see that name again, do we?
Mm-mm. I don't think so.
So I'm very suspicious of this.
Yes, very, very suspicious. So then Graves and Kierse go to the Covenant to see Dr. Maffei, who again is like running a few tests on Kierse, check for any brain damage. All of her testing is fine, comes back normal. But Dr. Maffei suggests that maybe you need therapy because maybe perhaps your brain has responded to, basically the trauma and like repress these memories. But Kierse is like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to do therapy. I don't know. So she's like, thank you. I'll think about it. We'll see. So next up, Kierse goes to see Nate at 5 Points, and he's super happy to see her. He immediately wants to know what her plan is and what's the double cross, like, this is why we don't want to trust you, Nate. Apparently, Nate doesn't trust Graves, but tells Kierse to let Graves show her all of his cards and then make a decision, like the best she can with her heart, which is good advice,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We'll take
That's
it.
kind of like, you want to tell your friend that the guy she's dating is an asshole, but like, make your own choice. But
You'll know what to do.
It's like, here's all the things that he's done to you. Make the right choice.
But he's not tried to kill you. Just remember that.
Yes, exactly. He's not holding guns to your head all the time. So during this conversation with Nate, we also learned it's been really quick with the men of valor. I mean, it's been very quiet. Very quiet. Very quiet. Too quiet. You're like, Immediately makes us think something bad is going to happen soon with the men of valor at some point in this book. Like, they didn't just disappear. Like, they're out there. So we also learned that Nate and Maura are engaged, and we're like, oh, yay, happiness, happy couple. And they invite Kierse to their engagement party and upcoming wedding. They're doing it really fast, and I'm like, why are you doing it so fast? But Maura then tells Kierse that she can't have kids because a long time ago she was seduced by an incubus when she was younger. And there is a curse basically on her that she can't have children unless it's the incubus child. So Maura asks Kierse if she can find out any type of cure, like from Graves, because like we're all out of options. Can you just help us out? She's like, I can ask. I don't know. So then back at Graves' mansion, Anne apparently loves Jen and like lets her pet her. And we're like, of course. Of course. And Graves just doesn't know a way to cure an incubus curse, but perhaps the cauldron could help. And then we finally have Shorts showing up, and he happens to be a mer. And I'm like, merman?
Merman.
I have questions. How does the merman, does he have feet? Does he have a tail? Does he have like scales slightly? Like what does the merman look like?
We don't get a ton of description about him. Like I remember like the web fingers and things like that, but there wasn't a lot of else information.
Yeah. I want to know.
And does it change like when he's out of the water?
Yes. What's going on down there with the mer?
Good question. Good question. We do not learn that in this book.
I need to know.
So we have it's Steal the Cauldron planning meeting with this group. All I thought of was like a sign outside of like, like in conference rooms and offices, it tells you like the name of the meeting, and like the title outside the library is like Steal the Cauldron.
Mm-hmm.
So quick rundown of what's expected. The attendee list is everyone they would expect. Lorcan will be there too. The
Of
security
course.
system is top of the line. The cauldron is much smaller than Kier's expected. I thought it would be like a cauldron, like a witch's cauldron.
Yeah,
It's
like a big
not.
old brew.
Correct. Like from Hocus Pocus. It's not. It's like a chalice. And I'm like, then call it a cup.
Yeah,
Like,
the Holy Grail, if you
right,
will.
exactly. It's not a cauldron.
But no one really
Everyone,
knows. They haven't seen it.
yes,
So they're like,
they
we've
haven't seen
heard
it.
stories.
Well, they get measurements of it, showing that it's small, right?
Yeah.
Everyone on the team gets to use the cauldron once as a thank you for helping stealing it. And I'm like, okay, okay. And the curator owns the cauldron and he's expecting them to try and steal it. And I'm like, that feels like a trap.
Yeah. Also, if the curator owns the cauldron, what has he used it for?
Great point. And how did he get it? How did he get all the things that he owns? So it's time for the party, and Kiersa's wearing this like extremely gorgeous dress that pretty much like leaves Graves speechless. And on the way to the party, Graves like tries testing out Kiersa's mental barriers, and she's getting better and better at them, but she can't keep him out. And I think he makes a comment like, "I don't think you'll ever be able to," right? Which is a little foreshadowing because we see later, right, like that he can't get in after what Lorcan does. But then we get like, an extremely spicy limo scene.
Oh my goodness.
Like, can't wait to talk about this later. So good. Kirsten's going down on Graves. He returns the favor by finger fucking her and promises to do more later when she's out of the dress because they can't have sex because she can't physically, like, in the dress. There's not enough room.
Yeah, like you cannot, she's like walking, like wiggling, you know?
Yes.
Can't spread
All
your
right.
legs unless you're
She
in the
can't.
dress.
She can't. So let's talk about what happens at the party a lot. So this is when we learn that Graves was there when the Globe Theater burned down. So he like really does know his Shakespeare. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
damn, you're really old.
You're old.
We get to see Gregory Amberdash again. He chats with Graves and Kierse and mentions that Kierse is treading in dangerous waters. And I'm like, that feels like another threat. Is that what you do? Especially what we learn about him later. And we also see him wearing a Men of Valor pen. Which,
I was
right,
so pissed.
breadcrumbs. We learned about this upcoming MonsterCon, which is like this meetup for powerful monsters. So I know a bit like this is going to play a big role in the book. And then
I laughed so hard when I read MonsterCon. I was like, is it like the anime con down the street from me right now? Like in Anaheim? Like what?
or Comic-Con.
Or Comic-Con? Yeah, I'm like MonsterCon. I'm like, okay. I didn't take it very seriously at that point. I just thought it was too funny. I was like, MonsterCon? Really?
Really? Well, it's very serious business, Megan.
It is very serious, yes.
So, one of the play's actresses, Lyra, flirts with Kierse backstage, which is kind of like a fun thing that you see. Kierse gets into the back room where the cauldron is being held and pretends like she's trying to find a bathroom when the guards show up. Then she claims like she's super rich. She could buy them. They pushed her down. Like, it's this big drama scene, right?
Yeah, she's like, how dare you? Don't you know who I am? But, she's playing a part.
Exactly. She's doing a very great job at it. And then Amani shows up at the event, and she wasn't on the guest list. And then that's when Kierse realizes the entire party has been dosed in Amani's magic in the fucking wish powder. It comes back.
Ugh.
So then we see Lorcan come up to Kierse, and he's obviously been impacted by Amani's magic. So he is basically coming on to Kierse, and he goes to try and kiss her until Graves shows up and threatens to fucking kill him if he touches her again. And I was just like, I love a possessive man. I love this. You would have saved us a lot of trouble, Graves, if you just would have killed him at that point. Although I
Right.
get the sense that if Lorcan is killed by Graves, at the next solstice, Lorcan just comes back, apparently.
Yeah, it's just like an ongoing feud. Like, they're
And I'm
eternal.
just like, ugh, gross.
So we can never really be rid of him.
I hate this. I hate this so much. So then Lorcan responds that Graves can't keep them apart because Kierse is his fucking soulmate, and then I lost my shit. And I was like, does she not have enough to contend with? Now, what? What? All I
Right?
thought was like, okay, this is an ACOTAR reference, but I'm like, great. Lucian, are you just blurting out that Elaine's your soulmate when she comes out of the cauldron too? Like, what the fuck? What is with consent, people?
You're crushing on. What's it called? It's a crushing on in Korah.
Which
That's what he
pulse
says.
in my
Which
heart also
translate.
means like soulmate. And I'm like, I
No, no, thank you.
so no thank you, Lorcan. Creepy
No,
old
thank
man.
you. Yeah. That's where I'm like, why can there not be consent in soulmates? Like, that's just rude. Like, if your heart
Also,
rejects that person, why can't,
like, isn't
why?
a soulmate like you both want it,
Yeah, should be.
right?
Should be. Weird.
Otherwise, it's called an obsession and
Yes.
stalking, Lorcan,
Yes. She's going to have a restraining order against you.
and sexual harassment.
Yeah, let's just keep that on the
Like,
list. Like kidnapping, attempted murder, stalking. But of course, yeah, she's gonna love you. Duh.
sure, enough time.
Yeah. I guess he really liked the show You, probably.
Oh,
That's like Lorcan to a T. Anyway, so then Kierse finds that the cauldron is missing from the back auction room. And she finds Imani there, who has the cauldron, or is trying to get it too. Like, they're like, oh shit, like, we basically are the jig is up. They're moving the cauldron. Imani's going to try and get it. Kierse has to chase after her. They're jumping off of a building. And we're like, damn, in that dress? Oof,
right?
girl. That's tough. Like, you couldn't even have sex in the back of a limo in that dress. And now you're jumping off buildings. Like, that's hard.
I'm
So
impressed.
I'm impressed, yes. And apparently she had like these really beautiful like Louboutins too, because they're like red heels or like red bottom heel, and you're like, oh, damn. But she took them off. So
They're going
Kiersten
$3,000.
right. Ugh. But remember, 2 million goblin marks is nothing to Graves,
That's true.
so you can buy more shoes. So Kierst gets off the building, gets into the limo with George and Laz, and is like, follow Imani. Like, let's chase after her. She's trying to get the cauldron too. But the problem is, one vehicle has the cauldron in it, and the other has a decoy. So they're like, which one do we go for? I don't know. They decide just follow Imani because, like, letting her potentially get the cauldron would be, like, legit the worst outcome ever. So we have some crazy gunfighting going on while driving. Seriously reminds me of, like, Fast and Furious, if you will. And ultimately, Imani's car ends up, like, crashing because she shot all the tires out. Kierst did. She's a badass. And they continue to pursue the cauldron while Kierse jumps onto the security vehicle. And I'm like, okay, stunt double. Like,
Right?
and at this point, she also was handed a knife and was told to cut off her dress. So I'm like, all right, she doesn't have to deal with the dress anymore, but like RIP dress. So she basically jumps onto the security vehicle and takes out, quote unquote, the security guards, including Shorts, who happen to be on the security vehicle. Shorts is okay though. Don't worry. Our merman is good. He just tucked and rolled. And then Kierse gets her hands on the box carrying the cauldron and recognizes a familiar scent of pine and lemon, which immediately tells us she knows the person who owns the cauldron, even though like she hasn't picked up on it yet. Kierse does realize then, like, shit, this is the decoy box because I don't feel any of the power like humming through this box. But she's like, whatever, I'm going to take it anyway, practice trying to open it so that when we do find the real cauldron, it'll be easier. Tracker on the second cauldron box, but it got pulled off near 9 Market. Breadcrumb for sure about what we learned later about the curator. So Kierse decides to go into the Goblin Market alone because George happens to have a coin on him, and she can't wait the 10 minutes it will take for Graves to get there to go with her. Because remember, Graves and Lorcan have been subdued by Imani's powder. They're like way behind on what's going on. Our next interlude shows how George met Graves, which started with Graves needing George to drive him as fast as possible to the airport. Flashback to today, Graves doesn't have another coin to get into the Goblin Market and knows that the goblins won't trade with him. So he's going to volunteer to eat the goblin fruit to go after Kierse. But honestly, George is like, please don't do that. And he convinces him not to. Like, let's wait for Kierse, or like wait for, Edgar to come with another coin. Because he's like, we know Kierse, and shockingly, Graves listens. And we're like, okay, you're
I'm
trusting
shocked.
her. So
Yeah.
shocked. But also like so sweet he was willing to eat the goblin fruit.
I know. So back to the motherfucking Goblin Market we go.
Ugh.
I was just like, why are we doing this, Kierse? She uses
Why?
a tracking device on the phone from George to try and locate the cauldron. And like all of a sudden it disappears in the alleyway.
Yeah.
And so
because like her phone, there's like a magical phone you have to use.
yes. That
Normal
only
phones
Graves
won't
has.
work. Yeah.
And then it like dies. So she can't like text anyone or like send a smoke flare. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the cauldron didn't just disappear into thin air. A doorway magically appears because she sees like this golden sheen of magic. There's a door and Kierse can open it. And I'm like, Kierse, let's
I don't
think
know if
hard.
I would do this. This doesn't
Right?
seem like a smart idea.
This seems like bad on like a lot of ways, right? It wasn't there before. Now you can see it. You can open it. That a woman named Maya greets you. And then Kierse is like, oh, my name is Shannon. And Maya's like, I'll take you to a room to rest and to change and have food. And the room is really simple. It's stocked with like plenty of clothes in various sizes. Love that they're accommodating everyone of all different sizes. And then Kierse like changes into some clothes because her dress is pretty much destroyed at this point. And Maya comes back with like food, medical supplies. She tries to clean up Kierse's cut, but apparently it's going to need stitches. So Maya goes to get this doctor named Alex, who happens to be a phoenix. She gets stitched up, and she learns this place is called Sansara, just like the tree we've heard about. And that's when I knew Killian Ryan must be alive and he's tied to this place. And I was like, we need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
So the mission of Sansara is to take in travelers who are in need, which, let's be honest, what we learn about Killian Ryan later, that is what he does with nefarious results, right?
Yes.
And reasons. So because we can't just stay where we're put, we have to sneak out of our room, and she senses power. So she like goes and follows it like a little breadcrumb trail for her. Yeah. And she opens this door and sees the Sansara tree in the middle of a room with a bunch of people meditating around it. And it's also where the scent of pine and lemon is strongest for her. And I'm like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
this tree is not supposed to be here. And these are creepy people all dressed in like chanting and some shit. And you're like,
you might be in a cult right now.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Get out.
Correct.
Don't eat the cake.
Right. Don't eat the goblin fruit.
Or the goblin fruit. Yeah.
Right. So there's a man in the corner who recognizes her and yells out her name. And she goes, and she's like, my name is Shannon. Because he's like, Kierse. And she's like, my name is Shannon.
Like,
and then
he yells, not me.
That's not me. Get her. And then all these meditators like start going after her. And so she starts creepy, right? And I'm just like, this is why we don't go into rooms that we don't know of. So she starts running. She ends up getting to the door that she came in through, like in the Goblin Market. She's able to get through the other side of it. I really thought she was somehow going to get blocked and not be able to get through.
Like the door just disappeared all of a sudden.
Exactly.
It's like you're at a wall.
That's what I thought would happen. But she's able to get through, and she sees Graves there with Vale. So Kierse and Graves take off. Vale is going to stay behind and deal with the crazy cult members. Great job, Vale. We appreciate you. And then once they're out of the Goblin Market, Kierse sees like Graves is really panicked about her and the fact that she was in there alone. And he confesses that his team had to stop him from eating the goblin fruit to go in and get her. That he was willing to put himself in mortal danger for her. And I'm just like, oh. And then that's when, and I love how this is described in the book, Kierse feels the ice breaking in her chest. Like she doesn't want to hold on to the anger, the fear, or the hurt anymore. And then that's when you see Graves kiss her, and it feels like we've turned the page to this like new start in their relationship. Everything from this point on is very different for them, I feel like. And then Graves is also shocked when Kierse tells him, like, oh, FYI, I also saw the Sansara tree. It was in there, and I'm pretty sure Killian Ryan was in there.
And he's just like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
like that's impossible. That can't happen.
Two things that I know are gone are you're saying he's alive and the tree's back? What?
Yeah. You're like, it's true. So back at Graves' mansion, Graves has Kierse go with him to his room because she just belongs everywhere that he is. And you're like, yes. And then naturally we get a very hot, sexy scene in the shower. We love a good shower scene. Shower sex scene. Oh my God. Followed then by sex minutes later in the bed. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, what is the refractory period here for Graves? I'm like, you literally, like 10 minutes? Like 5 minutes? Like,
I think
how?
I'm toweling her off. Like,
literally, I'm just like, you just ejaculated in the shower and you're able to quickly turn around and get hard again and do it again. I'm just like, this is why this is romantasy. Like,
that's right.
This is not real life. I'm like, damn it.
If only.
If only. So this is just so hot because he also sends her an image into her mind of what he was seeing as he fucked her. And you're like, fuck, yes. I like that. I like where this is going. So then a few days later, Kierse catches up with Jen And Jen's biggest takeaway from everything that has happened is Kierse is Lorcan's soulmate. And you're like, what does that mean? Same, Jen, same. We also are just like, what does that mean? So thankfully, maybe awkwardly, Graves joins the conversation and admits that he's seen this connection a few times. He said, it usually creates a strong connection and awareness of the other person that might feel physically in the chest. So like touch is almost like being intoxicated. Sometimes you feel a loss of your own will. That doesn't sound good.
No.
Like, okay, you're being controlled by someone else. Like you have no power. Like
That's what it sounded like, right?
like this soulmate doesn't check out. That's not romantic. I don't love it. No, thank you.
I was like, we need to talk about the definition of soulmate because that is not what I thought it was.
No, no. And then we also see the entire group get together to discuss what's next for the plans about the cauldron. So we obviously reveal that they never intended to sell the cauldron on the night of the party. It was clearly just a trap. And the curator is going to actually showcase his entire collection at MonsterCon. MonsterCon. Too funny. I can't. Oh my gosh. Too good. Because MonsterCon happens to be on the summer solstice. Again, feels like a trap. And they now need another tech guy who is better than Laz. Because at least Laz can like own up to like his faults. And Kierse then suggests Walter. And Graves originally hates this idea. He's like, no, I'm not using that guy. But then he's like, fine, whatever Kierse wants. And then Graves suggests adding Nate to their group, since he'll have an invite to the event and is theoretically on his side. So Jen mentions she and Kierse are going to Nate's engagement party next weekend and that Graves should come. And Kierse is like, if you want. Like, you don't have to come. But like, if you want to come. If you want to go, that's fine. I'm going to go. Well, you can come if you want. And
But if you don't want to, it's fine.
But if you don't want to, it's okay. It's like the awkward, like, are we going to be a real couple now? I don't know how to do it. And like, Jen's just like trying to help this along, you know, like, you should come with us. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And apparently also Graves has dealt with Imani, but Montrell shows up and apologizes for everything that happened with her behavior and everything. And Graves just basically tells him, like, listen, if Imani shows up in New York City again, she's getting sent back to you in a body bag. Like, she's going to be dead. So let her know, like, this was her last warning. Like, next time it's bye-bye. And then Edgar has been watching Sansara, or like the area where it was, and hasn't seen anyone come out in days. So he's like, I think they moved the door. Which I'm like, yeah, they could totally move this door around.
So
right?
Where are they getting all these goblin coins?
Exactly. Why did she have to go get the bracelet? That makes no sense.
Like, how many do they have?
In the very first book, remember when he like opened like his magic on like that box and like all these coins came flying down? Like, were those goblin coins? You have an endless supply of goblin coins?
Goblin coin? That would be, wouldn't have expected that. But I'm just like, geez. Okay. Ugh. So we get another session of Graves trying to help Kierse with her memories. And Graves is trying to like guide her memory this time. And she keeps getting like more bits and pieces of what happened with her parents, but she gets stuck at this apartment door that she can't seem to get into. It's like she keeps like learning a little bit more or remembering a little bit more up into this door. And then Kierse gets a nosebleed, which causes Graves to want to stop, but she won't. Because once again, we see this thing constantly in romantasies where you get a nosebleed for using too much power. And then she keeps remembering the scent of pine and lemon, which is like a really interesting, like, cleaner. Like, I thought of Pine Sol, and I was like,
I thought of Pine Sol too. I'm like,
that's not great. And which is just like she saw at Sansara, and it jolts her back to being 6 and meeting Jason for the first time. And when I first read this, I didn't pick up on this. And then later I was like, all the clues. They were there the entire time.
I immediately thought, yeah, I immediately was like, oh my God, Jason is the curator. Because when you said, when we did our other recording on the first book, you were like, is Jason dead? We don't know. We don't have a body. And I was like, no, he's totally dead. Like, she said she killed him.
And I was like, he's alive.
That little seed of doubt that you planted in my head made me realize, I'm like, oh my God, Stephanie was right. He's not dead. I was so excited. But then I was like, but we need to have it line up.
Right. I didn't think he was a curator until like, it took me like a couple more iterations to like get to that. But I was just like, So they go back to the Covenant to meet with Dr. Mafi and a therapist. And I didn't really glean a ton from that encounter, except that the therapist basically believes your parents probably died in this room, and that's why Kierse can't get past it. So, like, you need to face why, like, your parents' death in order to be able to, like, move on and kind of unlock the rest of your memories, which felt like a very typical thing, like, a therapist would say.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like there was, like, much else we gained from that. Watch there be something in, like, the next book that comes out, and it was, like, a breadcrumb from that scene that I totally missed.
Yeah, right.
But now it's time to break Ethan out of druid training for the night. It's like Operation Jailbreak to attend Nate and Maura's engagement party. And at first I'm like, yes, we're going to be like super sneaky and break him out. No. It's less exciting when Lorcan like shows up and he's like, you know, talking to Kierse. He's like, I'm totally fine with Ethan going. And as long as he's back before the morning. And I'm just like,
They call him Little Cinderella. They're just like, haha.
See, but also like, anytime Lorcan's on the scene, I'm immediately like, ugh.
Yeah. But also at this point, when Lorcan's like, oh, hello, my little songbird. Like, did you wear this outfit just for me? Because he's wearing a sexy, cute little, like, black dress, like, mini skirt.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, do we like Lorcan? I don't know.
No, I was like, creepy old man. Bleh.
See, but I'm like, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So
like maybe I literally like every time I was just like, oh, can I be done with this page yet?
Maybe it's because I just like hear this like really sexy Irish like voice when he says little songbird and like little songbird. And I'm like,
oh, see, when I hear like a creepy old man. Like that's, and I don't know why, because I assume like he probably looks like physically in terms of age, the same age as Graves. Who I imagine is very, like, strapping and, you know, like, probably looks like he's in his 20s or 30s. I imagine, I'm not joking you, that, like, Lorcan is, like, a 60 to 70-year-old man.
Oh, no.
That he has a creepy old man voice, and he's, like, chasing after this 20-year-old. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you, dirty old man? And I know that's not how Kaylin has described him, but
no,
that is what I see and hear when he speaks. And I'm just like, you're disgusting.
No, that would turn me off. That'd be, I would not like that as much. No, I'm going to stick with my version.
I don't get sexy, like, Irish vibes from him. I get, like, creepy old man vibes.
Oh, I got
like,
sexy,
go smoke
like,
your pipe. Like,
like the sexy Irish bad guy from Charlie's Angels. You remember that one?
No.
Okay.
It's not what I get at all.
Oh, anyway, that's what I was feeling, and I was all for it. So I was secretly honestly hoping like maybe Lorcan and Graves can share her.
Ooh, like this becomes like a why choose.
Yeah, it's like it's a different kind of Triskel. I don't know. Crazier things have happened in this book, you know.
Touche.
So now we get to Nate and Maura's engagement party. And Ronan is very excited to see Jen. And then Corey is super excited to see Ethan because he's like, oh, damn, my honey grew up. And then Graves shows up and he's so sorry that he's late. And it's pretty much just like an ideal date night for the two of them. Like, it's so sweet. Graves opens up to Ethan about how he actually trained as a druid, which Ethan is shocked to hear. He's like, what? No one told me this. And he's like, yeah, see, they're not telling you everything. It's true. And he shares his experience to hopefully then get Ethan to trust him a little bit. And we learn from Graves that both Lorcan and Neve were in love with Sorsha, the wisp at the center of the Trisket. Triskel, not Trisket. Trisket's like the snack.
A cracker.
I'm hungry, apparently. But again, that's where I'm like, okay, maybe Graves and Lorcan and Kierse can be their own little... You know, because it seems like everybody's in love with the wisp, and she's, you know, it's possible. So Graves and Kierse then talk to Nate about helping them out with stealing the cauldron, and how maybe you can use it to then try and break that spell on Maura so you can have children one day. And at that point, Nate's like, okay, I'm in. Like, if there's even a chance that, like, this could fix things for us, like, I'll do it. It's worth it. And you're like, oh, you just want to have a family, which makes you sad later. And after Nate leaves the cellar, Graves and Kierse just can't keep their hands off of each other. And we get another sexy scene. And we're like, please more. Please more. And then it's like, oh, guess what? Next morning, we do get more. Yay! Basically, Kierse wakes up with Graves' head between her legs, and that is the best kind of wake-up call you could have, in my opinion. And then he tells her, like, touch yourself like you did when we were apart. And she would think of him. And he does the same while they watch each other. And we're like, oh, fuck. This is dirty. It's so dirty they have to take shower and have shower sex. And you're like, this is my best. This is like the best life right there. I'm like,
Right?
you wake up, you get some more, and then you have shower sex. And I'm like, lovely.
But I need a nap.
I need a nap from reading that. I was just like, so good.
A lot going on. But time for another team meeting, so we have to take a little break from our sexcapades. Walter attends this one. He decided to join the team because Kierse didn't kill him. This is his reasoning. Well, you didn't kill me when you could have, which means Graves didn't want me dead. So that's why. And I'm like, and then it's funny from this because like Walter definitely is kind of like, right, he's the computer guy, he's kind of the nerd, but he gave me some Riddick vibes from the Empyrean series because I feel like he was like, yeah, I'm on Team Holly, because there's like a joke about making t-shirts. He's like, I'll take a t-shirt.
A t-shirt.
I'm just like,
Team
I
Holly.
love this.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, we should have t-shirts, actually. That'd be great. Let's
also
add that.
really add that.
You have the
T-shirts,
cauldron meeting on the outside, and everybody wears Team Holly.
Team Holly shirts.
I like it.
So, and we also see security for MonsterCon is getting stepped up, which is making it harder for them to figure out how to get Kierse into the event until they realize that the cast for A Midsummer's Night's Dream will be there and perhaps Lyra can get her in. So Kierse and Graves go to the theater to watch Lyra perform again, while Graves finger fucks Kierse in the theater and tells her to be quiet as she comes for him. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, well, I can't keep my hands off you when you choose not to wear underwear. And I'm like,
oh my.
Oh my.
Oh.
And I was like, this book may have started off as a slow burn. It is like on fire right now.
It's an inferno.
It's an inferno, and we are loving every second of it.
Yeah.
So we learn a couple of interesting things at the theater. Graves thinks Lorcan will try and convince Kierse of the binding ceremony. And she's like, excuse me, what? He was
like, is this the joining?
Is this the
joining?
No, it's not the joining, you guys. The joining is exciting. This is not exciting. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, it's a magic bond that allows the soulmate bond to reach its full potential. And Kierse is like, not excited to learn this. Like, I'm not going to do this. And Graves is like,
I didn't sign up for that.
I did. No. Yeah, I'm not.
None of this.
Like, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Graves shares that it used to be required when a mate bond was discovered. And he encourages Kierse to ask Lorcan about it and see how Lorcan reacts. And then Graves heads to the limo while Kierse waits for Lyra at the backstage door. And then there's this really funny conversation between the two of them where like Kierse and Lyra both make it clear to each other that they're like interested in each other and maybe like a threesome with Graves, but like neither one of them pay for sex. And I'm just like, okay.
That could happen. I could see that. I could manifest that.
I could manifest the three of them together. I think all three of them were interested.
I think they are.
Kierse drops a hint that Graves is speaking at the MonsterCon, but like, oh, I don't have an invite. And Lyra's like, oh, well, I'll be performing there. And while that night she doesn't get, like, Lyra doesn't invite her to go with her, you see a couple of days later, she is going to help Kierse sneak into it. And then we have another nightmare. And we haven't had that many nightmares. There's been like kind of a break in nightmares for Kierse, but she has another one while she's asleep in the limo with Graves. And it's still her kind of like stuck at this apartment door memory. So even her nightmares are kind of progressing a little bit. Slowly but surely.
So now it's time for Kierse, Jen, and Ethan to train together with Neve and Lorcan's help. Because they're like, hey, we are part of the last Triskel. Let's help you. Let's find out what happens. So first and foremost, Kierse confronts Lorcan about this binding ceremony. And he's like, well, I didn't really plan on telling you about it until I thought you would agree to it. And it's like, well, that was never going to happen. So tell me now. Right? So Kierse asks what happens if she doesn't agree to it, which he says, that's exactly what my wife once said. And I'm like, okay, so Lorcan, you're telling me that you and Sorsha were soulmates too? I'm like, that's a little creepy. I'm like, oh, okay. So, and then Lorcan drops another bomb here. that allegedly Kierse has Sorsha's magic. He's like, I don't know how, but he's like, I can feel that same magic calling to me after the spell on you was broken. So I'm like, so you think you're soulmates now because your old soulmate's magic is in her body? Like, not like reincarnation, but like, because she's like, I'm me. What are you talking about? Like, I'm not Sorsha. Like, I'm not her. And I'm like, well, are you? I don't know. Like, your memories are gone. Who knows?
I hate all of this.
I hate all of it. Yeah, I'm just like, But then, honestly, I'm also kind of like, what if Lorcan's telling the truth? What? I don't know. But again, that's why their bond is so strong, and Lorcan is willing to wait it out until Kierse comes around to the idea of it. And I'm like, but what if she doesn't? I don't know. And then Neve is there working with Kierse, Ethan, and Jen on that Triskel training, and Lorcan is just assisting. So Ethan and Jen try to project their magic out, but they just can't get it to work. Kierse, however, is able to do it very, very easily, and she's just like pushing it out to them because she's been training for a little bit with Graves on this stuff. And Lorcan suggests they try to do a power share, but Neve is like against this idea. And like over and over again, like he keeps trying to push things further, and she's like, no, they should really be doing this one step at a time. Like, you're kind of being a little too ambitious, dude. And he's like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, they can just link over and over again. And Kierse is able to do that, starts it every single time. And then once they've kind of gotten that like settled a bit, Neve is like, okay, now we can try power sharing. And Kierse then can share a small piece of her magic with Jen and Ethan. And again, Neve is like, let's end it there. But Lorcan wants to keep going. And they all agree. It's like, oh my God, this is a bad idea, clearly. And Lorcan then takes over the training and has them transferring power from each other, which Neve, again, is shocked to see them do and says, they're not ready for this. Like, this is not okay. And at that point, I'm like, I'm on Team Neve. Like, she's actually like here to help and like doesn't want to hurt them. And that's when Ethan accidentally starts taking more and more power from Kierse. And Neve has to like physically tackle him to make it stop. And then at this point, Kierse basically just collapses due to all of her magic being drained from her. And she ends up in Lorcan's arms. And you're like, dude. Also, if that wasn't a breadcrumb as to what's going to happen later, I was just like, oh shit. Like looking back on it now, like, dude, Lorcan, you conniving little butthole.
Right. Well, and it also makes me question Ethan, right? And whether or not we can trust him because like he takes her power this time and it's just I don't know. There's more to it.
They loved it when they felt her power. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. This feels amazing." And it's like, yeah, chances are one of those people is going to probably be a little bit more selfish about it. And it's like, "Wait, I'm jealous that you have all this power and I just got a drop of it. I want more." And you're like, "Ooh. That's not good."
And I don't trust the druid, so we have our next interlude, and we see that Nev reminds Lorcan that Kierse is not his wife. And he's like, I know that. And she's like, do you?
Do you know she's not Sorsha? Do you know this? Do you realize this?
And then we also learn that Nev and Sorsha grew up together, and it grew into something more, which leads us to believe like that they were in love with each other until Lorcan declared the soulmate bond between him and Sorsha. And I'm like, is that what you just do? You just walk around and say you are my soulmate? Because how can someone contest that?
Right?
But
also, like, how it's just weird that he's like, you're my soulmate, and like, boom, there's the bond. You're like,
that
what?
No one can feel but him?
Well, and apparently the other person is, so she has to be like, oh shit, we are.
Maybe, or is he just projecting that into their minds?
Ooh.
But Sorsha kind of like wouldn't go through with this like binding ceremony until after Emily died, and that's what brought them together. So very interesting because when Lorcan tells the story to Kierse, he leaves that part out. He leaves the part out that like his sister's death is what caused them to actually get together. So the next part of the book is called MonsterCon, and it starts with Kierse waking up in Lorcan's bed, and she doesn't remember how she got there and why she's wearing one of his shirts. And all I thought of was, what the fuck happened to her? I'm going to murder him myself.
Who took off her clothes?
Exactly.
And why was that necessary?
Right.
Rude.
So Kierse learns that she can't reabsorb the power that Ethan took because she can't relink without the full moon. And I'm like, so what is the point of this Triskel if it only happens on a full moon?
Right.
And she doesn't have any power to link with anyways, so she's kind of out of luck. But Lorcan's like, I could replenish your magic if we were bound. And I'm like, okay, creeper son, no thank you. And so then Kierse calls Graves to pick her up, which like Lorcan is not thrilled by. So Graves picks her up. His anger is very palpable because she was in danger with her magic being drained and her absorption off. Like he says like anything could have happened to you. And then plus like he wants to kill Lorcan when he learns that Kierse woke up in his shirt, like in his bed, and he can smell Lorcan on her, which
Oh,
makes me like I know
so
that like
mad.
Jen was there and like Nev was there, so she probably was safe. But like there's this point where I was like, did you sexually assault her? Because like I honestly don't trust you.
Yeah, you could have, honestly. Ugh.
So back at the mansion, Graves carries Kierse to bed. He climbs in with her, and we get like one of these really honest and authentic conversations between the two of them. And then Kierse tells him, like, I don't feel for Lorcan the same way I do for you. And then he shares that he knows the bond is and I think this is a good description of it, a complicated, painful, wanton, frustrating, compulsive, because he's read it off Emily. And that's when we learn that Emily was his first love, but her soulmate was someone else. And that was during a time when having a soulmate was an honor, and it sounds like they were probably forced into it. So Graves and Emily petitioned to be able to get married, but were denied. And then he really bears his soul to Kierse, and this broke my heart because he says he wonders if he convinced himself of the impossible again, that Kierse could be his. And I was like, oh.
And like, I wonder also, like, in this case, like the soulmate bond feels like an arranged marriage. Like it's an arranged marriage from
Yes.
destiny. And it's like
From power, right?
from power. Yeah. And it's like an arranged marriage by magic. And you're like, that's rude. Where's the free will? That's just like so annoying. And like, yeah.
I was gonna say, and that's when you see Kierse open herself up to him, and so he can like read her, like she like lowers her like shields and stuff, and she tells him like no one controls her, only the two of us get to choose. And then that's when he says like just know you're my choice every time, and that was like one of my favorite lines in the entire book, because I don't think there's a single other person in this book that would be able to say the same thing to her and actually mean it like he does.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, I love you, Graves. You're so sweet. And then a few days later, it's another heist meeting, Team Holly. We got our cauldron conference room going on. Let's talk about what we learned here. So, Kierse now can open the decoy cauldron box, but it's empty, like completely empty. And she's like, well, that was a little anticlimactic. But hey, now she knows how to do it, so that's good. Walter has now identified another problem that they have. There is a manual switch on the cauldron system, so they will need someone inside the security to dismantle it if they even want Kierse to get in there. So Jen volunteers to help, which Kierse is adamantly against. She's like, no, like, you cannot protect yourself. Like, I gotta help you. But Jen's like, no, I got this. Please trust me. She wants to be part of it because she's also like, I want to learn from the cauldron. I want to help. Walter then tells us we have another problem. He's like, Kierse is supposed to be the distraction for the curator while Graves steals the cauldron. But this window is way too short, meaning, Kierse, you're actually going to have to be the one to steal it. And the curator will just have to be somewhere else with a bigger diversion. So now Kierse won't be able to talk to the curator, which she was hoping to do to help her kind of recover some more of her memories. It's probably honestly a good thing that that part of the plan didn't go well or like didn't happen, because like had she met Jason as the curator, like all hell would have fucking broken loose. Not really like saying that it still went well the other way, but like at least they got the cauldron that way. Oh man, it was just like shit was gonna hit the fan one way or the other. So Kierse then heads to go see Ethan and notices that there isn't a troll on the way to the subway. And it's like, okay, that should have been a red flag because, like there are trolls everywhere. And especially because in lieu of a troll, there is a Men of Valor symbol spray painted on the floor where the troll usually is. And we're like, that is not good. She takes a picture of it, sends it to both Nate and Graves. They're also just like, oh shit, that's not good. So Kierse then arrives in Brooklyn and she can sense that Lorcan isn't there. We're like, okay, thank you, soulmate bond, for at least being good for that, I guess. And Ethan takes her down to the room where they practice their magic. And now there's a tree there from their magic. And now I'm thinking, okay, how can a tree grow without a triskel? You know, like how in the world did Killy and Ryan get that other tree to grow? Like, there are some questions here that need to be answered. And basically, Ethan is thinking, like, when we connected and there was, like, you know, a triskel power, Ethan, you know, I accidentally took too much of it and it blasted on the floor, and that's what caused the tree to grow. Neve thinks it's created a new sacred tree. This has just never been done before, but Triskels can apparently just do crazy magic. So again, it's like, how did Sansara come back? What Triskel happened for that to happen? Very, very, very curious about this one. So Kierse then also shares with Ethan about how Graves is helping her recover her memories. But she's like, there's a block that prevents me from remembering when the spell was cast. Ethan is still very much suspicious of Graves. And he's like, I don't like this guy's in your head. You're not being smart about this. And Kierse is like, back off. And then all of a sudden she can sense that Lorcan is back. And Ethan doesn't understand why Kierse won't give him a chance. She's like, Lorcan's a good guy. He's on our side. And she's like,
He tried to kill me multiple times.
Yeah.
Like Ethan, he tried to kill you.
Yeah. It's like, do you really not remember that? Do you have amnesia? Like, not good.
So Kierse goes to see Lorcan, who's sitting on the oak throne. He's in a shitty mood, and we learn a lot. So apparently the oak throne is for the ruler of the droids, which is separate from the oak king title. So you can still be the oak king, but not sit on the oak throne. Very confusing. Only the ruler of the druids or his queen can sit on it. The oak throne and Lorcan aren't in Dublin because Graves is in New York City, apparently. We must stalk him at all times.
Yeah.
Lorcan wants to know what Graves wants from the cauldron and the sphere and what the sword refused him, but Kierse like avoids that question. I'm like, dude, she doesn't even really know.
Yeah.
Lorcan admits his shitty mood is related to the troll revolt that happened today, causing all trolls to abandon their subway posts, and he assumes that they're now working with the Men of Valor. And I'm like, okay, so you do care, I guess, about the greater good? Or maybe not?
Maybe.
Who knows? Kierse admits that she likes Lorcan better when he's not trying so hard to win her over. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. Like, you're a little less creepy. And then Lorcan takes that, in the creepster man way that he is, as an open invitation to kiss her. And I'm just like, no. She did not say, please kiss me. She was just like, you're less annoying when you're not trying to win me over. And he was like, and I will take that as my command to make out with you.
Right? It's like, that was not consent.
That was not consent whatsoever. And it causes her to feel like all these conflicting emotions, right? Because like there is this weird connection between the two of them that she doesn't really understand, but then she also knows like this isn't what she wants. And so she pulls away from the kiss, and Lorcan says, we were connecting without the ceremony, like almost indicating that this bond between them is even stronger. And she tells him she can't do this because of Graves. And then Lorcan laments about how Graves is ruining it for him, just like how he did with Emily, and how Graves killed Emily, and Lorcan won't let him kill Kierse. And I'm just like,
dude,
she doesn't want you.
No means no.
No means no. She doesn't want you. She's not interested in you. You're a creepy old man, in my head, at least. I get that what happened with your sister sucked. I get that Graves played a role in that. But also, just hear me out for a crazy idea. Maybe forcing women into binding ceremonies with people they don't want to be with might be a bad idea. If we just like noodle on that for a second.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. Let's just like not force women to do things they don't want to do.
Exactly. Maybe we didn't do that. None of this would have happened. Just crazy idea.
Crazy idea. How dare you think that? Crazy. So then Kierse gets back to Graves' mansion, and it's time again for another heist meeting. Woo! And we got the whole crew. Everybody's got t-shirts. Not really, but they should.
They should.
Isolde has made a cake that will somehow play a part in this heist. It took me a while to understand like what the importance of the cake was.
And I was like, do we get cake?
I know, I'm like, okay. And like the name of the company is Cake and Cake. And I'm like, real original, guys. Like,
that's what happens when you let men name things.
Yeah.
like nerdy men.
I'm like, was there a marketing, committee? Because I don't think so. And Schwartz has actually been buying last minute explosives, which I'm like, where are you getting these? On like the black market, the goblin market?
At the
probably.
last minute, like I need a ton of kryptonite and like
Real
dynamite and
quick.
like all the things real quick.
Real quick, give me some explosives. And like nobody's red flagging that in the community. Like this guy's buying a bunch of like explosives. Like wouldn't the FBI and CIA be all over that shit? You'd think, right?
One would assume, but apparently not.
God. No. And then Lyra is there because she figured out something bigger was going on and she's like, I want in. Because it turns out she is the vampire princess. Oh, hey, girl, hey. And her parents were legit legends in the first vampire war. So she's like, I want to be a part of this, but don't tell my parents. And you're like, look at you go.
I feel
Um,
like every good girl, like type A personality's ever said, like I'm in, but like I was not here.
but don't tell anybody I was here. Yeah. So there are two seats up for grabs at the convocation, and it's believed that the men of valor are going to try and get both seats. And Graves says Nate is going to put his name forward for one of these seats, which is news to Nate. He's like, say what? 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 And they're like, come on, dude, everybody loves you. It'd be great. And he's like, I guess so. Okay. And I'm like, oh, Nate, you're such a good boy. And then Laz has all of the wards in place and all the transport is set. Schwartz is now planning to lay the explosives tonight. Again, randomly, how'd you get all these things, buddy? And Jen has her uniform and passes to access the security. And Walter has completely trained her on what to do. So we're like, Jen's like, I'm good, I'm confident, no worries. And then Kierse and Lyra are going to get to work together. And I'm like, sure they are. Yeah. And then this meeting is interrupted because Kingston shows up. And they definitely don't want him to know anything about this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Kingston, you flew over the pond to try and figure out what's going on. And you're like, Graves, how dare you not come visit me? So now I'm going to come to you. And you're like, this isn't going to go well.
This isn't gonna go well. So Kirsten Graves go to welcome Kingston, who's supposedly in town for MonsterCon and wants to stay at Graves' home tonight. And then he's gonna like transfer to like the plaza or something like the next day. And he even tells like Graves, make me a reservation at the Met tomorrow so he can write because he ported and wants to be able to like recharge his magic. And Kingston does not give them that much of a choice. It's like when someone invites themselves over to your house and they show up and you're like, well, what can I do about this now?
Yeah. They're
Not
like,
much.
by the way, order me some dinner, order me some food. And you're like, okay, let me just clean up really quick.
Great.
Drop everything I
Well,
was doing and cater to you.
and it makes me wonder, like, what Kingston's really up to. Because I don't think he's just in town for MonsterCon. Like, there's something bigger going on. Like, I'm curious if he's doing something with the Men of Valor.
Ooh, that'd be bad.
So once Kierse and Graves are alone, Kierse tells him about how Lorcan kissed her. And Graves is like, I'm not shocked.
I thought he would have been way more pissed.
I thought
Like,
so
obviously he's
too.
mad, but like, he seems too understanding here.
Well, and then this is when she's like, well, I'll let you, like, read my memory. And Graves is like, I don't want to ever see that. And then Graves starts, and this is, like, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. He starts putting a gun together because he's like, well, Lorcan's expecting me. And
Yeah.
Kierce is like, I don't think he is. Like, I walked away. And she's like, there was this binding was trying to happen without the ceremony, but I used the technique that you taught me to regain control, and I broke it. And then Graves is, like, shocked. And this is when she drops the bomb. Like, oh, by the way, I supposedly have his dead wife's magic.
Yeah.
And Graves is like, what? And then he's like, well, that explains a lot. And I'm like, does it? Does it, Graves? Because it doesn't explain a lot to me.
Yeah. I'm like, please tell me how Kierse has Sorsha's magic. Please. I would
Like,
love
please.
to. Elaborate. Please.
Elaborate how you think that's possible. And then we finally learn how Emily died. Because up until this point, they've just been talking about it like nonstop, and we haven't actually heard. So apparently, Graves tried to use his magic to break the bond because Emily asked him to do it. She wanted the bond broken with her soulmate. And he thought it was like working at first, but it went wrong really fast because every time, I guess, like you touch a memory and you change it, like there's this ripple effect. So he removed like her memories of the bond, her soulmate, everything related to it, but he kept pushing and pushing and ultimately got to a point where, like, while he was doing it, where he would rather she be dead than like with this soulmate. And so, like, somehow Emily died.
Yeah. But again, I'm like, but is she dead?
I don't think she's dead. I think she's the cat. I still believe this. Because he doesn't actually, like, he says she died, but he doesn't explain, like, exactly, like, what happened, just that he pushed it and pushed it. And I'm like,
Or would it be weird if that was her fingernail? I'm still obsessed with this fingernail thing.
I think it's part of her to like, and he needs it for the
to
spell.
bring her back. I think he wants to bring her back. I think that's the ultimate spell, to like right the wrong and bring Emily. But that'd be weird because he was also in love with her. And I'm like, so you want to bring back your ex-girlfriend to meet your new girlfriend?
Yeah, but he says she was his first love. Like he's very, and I feel like it's kind of like when looking back, right? Like your first love you think is the love, and usually it's not.
Yeah, but it'd be weird to bring her back then into this situation.
Potentially.
Maybe, yeah.
But I could see him doing that, like, because he wanted to do that before he met Kierse. So, Graves is determined not to make this mistake again, and he'll kill Lorcan instead. I'm like, but once again, you can kill Lorcan, but Lorcan keeps coming back. He's like the Energizer Bunny. Yeah, he just won't die. Yeah. So, and then Kierse is like, Lorcan isn't the problem. Not when I love you. And I'm like,
oh, snap.
Snap. And that's when Kierse allows Graves to read her thoughts, and she shows him how she really feels about him. And Graves tells Kierse that she's his weakness, and I like swooned so much. I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. Lorcan, this is how we talk to women or people. Literally anyone.
Yes. Don't force them into things.
Correct.
You know, reveal your inner truth and then say how you love them. In like a not creepy way, though.
Which I don't feel like he's ever done. Like, I don't feel like Lorcan to this point has ever said anything about why he likes Kierse, except that there's this bond between them.
Yeah. It's like, what do you like about her? Do you know her favorite color? Do you know her, her best friend's middle name? Like, this like random things that you like, you should know these things. And also, like, your previous wife didn't want to marry you either until you forced her into it. So, like, your track record is not that great at this point.
You might be the problem, Lorcan.
Just might be the problem. Yeah.
You might be the smallest man who ever lived.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he's a leprechaun.
I feel bad for calling that for leprechauns now. They don't deserve to be Lorcan.
Okay. Sorry, leprechauns. I don't mean it. But wait, we now need to get to a very, very spicy scene. And that's like, honestly, unexpected. And I was like,
yes.
What is happening here? So, and when we say unexpected, like, legit, we were not expecting this. So Graves finger fucks her, and we're like, great, love it. But then he takes the gun and, like, rubs it against her. And, like, literally, like, she talks about, like, feeling the metal and coolness of the gun on her clit, and you're just like, oh my.
Excuse me? What?
I was worried he was going to fuck her with the gun, like stick it up inside of her. I was worried about that. I was like, please put the safety on. Like, like a little rubbing, okay. Like you get a little like flesh wound to the side if it accidentally goes off. But if it's inside, that's bad. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he doesn't go that far with it. He does not actually fuck her with a gun. But, it's a little bit of foreplay, gunplay, if you will. Because he does eventually fuck her in the office. And you're like, yay. And it's followed by more sex in his bed. We're like, yay. And then we see Graves show Kierse what she looks like through his eyes. And he says he loves her. And you're like, oh, you guys, so sweet.
Nice.
So afterwards, Graves gives Kierse a present, which happens to be the knife her father traded with Graves for information. Very thoughtful gift. I honestly thought it was going to be a ring. I'm like, you choose now to propose? Like, is this the time? So I was glad for her. I'm like, okay, he didn't choose this time to do that. But very sweet how now she has her father's knife. Wonder how that's going to come into play later. Like that symbol on it that's tied to her father's warband with the stag in the middle. I'm like, there is something important here. So then Kierse and Graves do another memory session where Kierse sees her mom give her the Wren necklace. It was given to her mom by her mother. So grandmother to her mom to her. And supposedly one day a Wren would take them home. Like her mom literally says something about the song of a Wren will open up the world to the fairy. And you're just like, what? Okay, what? I immediately think of Ocean, honestly, and how he's trying to get back to fairy. And I'm like, there's a connection here. So Kierse hears her parents were killed by a gun. She believes that in that moment, the Fae killer has shown up. And there is a woman with him who can sense magical signatures. And Kierse remembers seeing their bodies and running out to the street to tell someone what happened. But the second she got out there, she forgets everything about her parents and everything about wisps and about magic. And it's possible then that the spell took over as soon as she left her parents. So Graves has never heard this tale about Wren's opening doors to fairy. But again, isn't that what we heard from Ocean? Like, it's got to be real. So now I want to go back to Ireland and ask Ocean all this stuff. Like,
Right?
what do you know? What do you
I
know?
don't
And why
trust him
don't they
either
do
'cause
that?
he's friends with Lorcan.
Yeah.
So it's time for the big heist. There's a ton that happens very quickly, so let's dive in. So Lyra and Kierse get into the event under the guise of Lyra's theater troupe. Graves needs to be seen in public all night, especially since Kingston's there, so it's going to avoid like suspicion. So he's kind of like chatting it up next to Kingston, which sounds like a real fun time for him. The curator has a very impressive collection, including a photo that Lyra's father took before the first Vampire War, which she's like really surprised to see. So I think that's a breadcrumb for the future. Like, how did he get all these things? Who owes him what, etc. And we see our friend Gregory Amberdash. He's the first speaker of the night. He has a new role with the Men of Valor. Shocker. And then he encourages everyone to join the Men of Valor because monsters should rule themselves, humans should rule themselves, and monsters are superior. And I'm like, that doesn't sound great for humans. And then he puts forth his name as consideration for the convocation for the Monster Treaty. Also not shocked.
Yeah,
so
no.
then we see Walter bring down the wards that are tied to like all these coins they have around ballroom doors, and that temporarily locks people inside, but they don't know that. So Kierse and Lyra go into a bathroom, and it's kind of like they kind of flirt it up on the way there. So like the guards that are kind of watching them think they're going to go in there and get frisky, which I think is hilarious. Because maybe
Which
like
honestly,
at a
I
different
think-
time they might have.
Yeah, because Kierse totally is like, Lyra is 100% my type. Like,
Right?
would 100% be down for that. And Lyra's like, same, babe.
Same. So Lyra changes into like a kitchen staff attire. Kierse is like gets into her black like thieving outfit. She's being smart. We're not going to wear a dress this time. Jen is kind of been like off the mics and stuff like that, and she finally like comes back on, and she's like, here's where I'm at. I have a knife wound in the side. I had to run in with some guards. She's like, and Kierse is like, we need to send Nate. And she's like, Jen's like, I'm fine. I'm working on like dealing with the manual switch. And then she's like, I think I need Nate's assistance. And then she like crashes. And I'm like, it's not great. Oh no.
No.
But
No.
like Kierse can't do anything, right? So Schwartz blows up the curator's compound. So somehow they figured out through all of their intel where it was at. But like none of the guards are distracted by this because it's like far away. And they thought this would be like the big distraction because all these guards were supposedly in-house. And so they thought like they would hear about the curator's compound blowing up. Not distracted. So Kierse has to take care of the guards herself using her powers. And then finally the cake comes back into it. So the cake was like delivered. There's like a second cake box, which has the cauldron decoy box in it, which they get. So Kierse like goes into the cauldron room. She absorbs the magic from the wards protecting it. She has to pick a cheap lock, and she sees the cauldron box sitting in the middle of the room. And all I thought was, this is a trap, Kierse, because there wouldn't have been a cheap lock. You're better than that. And this is when I thought that Jason was involved. And I was like, this feels like a Jason thing. So I didn't know if he was necessarily the curator at that point, but I thought, like, is he trying to set up some sort of trap to to capture her somehow as like vengeance or whatever? So she goes to swap him out, and it's very much like she sees the light. There's like a weight sensor. She has to take like a pin out of her hair to put on the box in order for the sensor to go off.
By the way, this hairpin, I'm thinking is Estelle's hairpin. Because remember how she was in Estelle's room and she like literally, and she gave everything back except for the hairpin. So I'm like, I'm just wondering, like, why a hairpin?
Why a hairpin?
And could it be that one?
That would be good. And what does it mean?
What does it mean?
So Kierse gets out of the room before the security system comes back online. And so you're like, yes, she's been successful. Lyra's not there. She's supposedly distracting some other guards. Kierse hands the cauldron box off to Laz and like a designer hat box. It's like this almost like, where is the cauldron box? Like they've played this game with different things. And then Kierse sees the man from Sansara who knows her name, and he puts a cloth over her nose and says the curator has been waiting for her. And I'm like,
No,
Huck, not
that's
great.
not good.
This is not great. So we have another interlude, and Laz recounts how he met Graves, and there's like a bigger story to this that I honestly I don't know if it has a point besides just learning more about their relationship.
Yeah.
But the thing I took away from it was there was a mention in this kind of story of how they met of an object that siphoned the life out of people. And I'm like, that doesn't sound great. That also sounds a little bit like what Jason does, but he siphons power, and it makes me wonder if that's going to play a bigger role in the next book.
Yeah. Could it be the stone? Does the stone
Oh,
siphon life out of people?
it's possible. We don't know what it does. Well, because like they even say the cauldron like can heal and feed people, and I'm like, but then it also can do other things.
Yeah. All these magical pieces have like random things that no one knows about until you're just like, have it. And you're like, okay, let's see what it does. So then we have part 6, and that is called the summer solstice. It opens with Kierse being held in the conference room. Doesn't say MonsterCon, or maybe it does. But she's changed to a chair with iron. We're like, uh-oh, iron, not good. The
Not
curator
great.
has to know about her Fey heritage at that point. So Kierse tries to connect to Lorcan, even though she doesn't want to, because like she can't get a hold of anybody else, and she's like, well, maybe the soulmate bond like isn't the worst thing in the world if I can at least get help from Lorcan, right? And she's just like trying to connect to him and ask him for help, like, please come find me, please come help me. We get a reference here about how her anger had been a living, fire-breathing dragon inside of her, and she refused to see it. Dragons, man. I'm like, can she turn to a dragon?
More
I wanna
dragon
know.
references.
More dragons, yeah. And then the biggest bomb of them all happens, and we see the curator walking in, and she's like, oh, fuck. It is Jason. I'm sorry, what?
What?
Turns out Jason wasn't dead. He was very much alive. Well, mostly alive. He was paralyzed because she stabbed him in the back 100 bajillion times. And also, like, has a big scar down his face from her. So he got paralyzed from the waist down for a long, long time, had to use a lot of magic to get put back together again. And he still uses a cane to walk around. And Jason's like, where is it? She's like, what are you talking about? I don't know. He's like, you know what I'm talking about. She's like, oh, the cauldron? I don't know. I don't have it. And he's like pissed. And Kierse pushes him on why he erased her memories. And he seems surprised to learn that she broke that spell. He's like, you shouldn't have known any of this. You shouldn't know anything about that door or any of this stuff. Like, how did you do that? He then says he was saving children like her who wouldn't amount to anything. And you're like, great. Thanks for the confidence. And he basically says he stole anyone's memories with magic because the more magic that he can like acquire from these kids, the more power he has. So he's like, I want you to forget you have magic, so you just give it to me and you don't even know it. And you're like, oh, that seems bad. And apparently he's been doing that for a long time, been siphoning magic from her and other people just like her, just like he did from the Sansara tree. And like her magic then like flowed into him until the spell broke. And he's like, well, when it broke, like I already was fine, so I didn't care. But he says that she was hardly the strongest person whose magic he siphoned. And I'm like, who else? Now I'm also like, what are Jason's other names? Could he have been like someone else? Like, what if Jason, aka Killian Murphy, aka the curator, was also like the person who was soulmate bonded to Emily that she didn't want to marry? And what if he actually accidentally killed her because he siphoned from her? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's digging too far. Who knows? But basically, Jason then claims that he saved Kierse from the Fae Killer and that she would have died alongside her parents if it weren't for him. This must mean that he siphoned her powers before her parents died. Like, is that what happened in that room? But also, I'm like, who is this Fae Killer? And I'm secretly worried that Graves is the Fae Killer somehow.
Oh, I think it's someone else.
Do you think it's Lorcan?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go to Crazy Town on it. I think it's Lorcan.
Okay, can't wait to hear that. So Basically, Kierse is really pissed off at Jason. He gets all up in her face and she just straight up headbutts him, breaking his nose. And you're like, yeah, girl, good for you. And Kierse can feel her magic then and like sends herself into slow motion and like literally does what's called phasing, where she just like moves quickly from one place to the next, making it the first time she's ever done this. And like, she's like, I don't know what happened. I just focused on getting out of that chair. And Jason tells her not to use that power too much or the fake killer will find her because he's still out there. Great. Another problem here. Awesome.
Future Kierse's problem.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to deal with this right now and I'll worry about that later. And then Jason tells Kierse that he knows who the fake killer is and so does she. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Or could it be Gregory Amberdash? He's a wraith after all.
It could be.
Okay, so we clearly met this guy before. Perhaps we have, but she has. So Kierse uses her magic then against Jason's goons, but also gets hit by a bullet in the shoulder. Girl can't catch a break. Jason gets in an elevator to leave, and then Kierse has to then take the stairs to chase after him. And unfortunately, Jason gets away in a van, but then another van shows up, and Lorcan and Eve are inside. And of course, Lorcan's like, I found you because you called out to me. And Eve starts working on trying to heal her wound. Kierse asks for Graves and is like, I need to go back to him. And Lorcan legit tells her that after tonight, you won't ever go back to him. You won't ever want to go back to him. And then fucking Neve puts her to sleep. Just goes, sleep. And you're like, what? Also, I kind of wish I had that magic for my children to be like, sleep.
Or myself.
Or myself. Yeah. Sleep. Please. But we're just like, what? What do you mean, Lorcan? What do you mean?
So this was the part of the book where my anger was on another level. Like, I was furious at this. Like, I already hated Lorcan. I already wasn't very trusting of Neve or Ethan. Basically, any druid was on my suspicion list. And there's like a shitstorm that happens. And let's talk about why Lorcan is the worst piece of trash alive. So Kierse wakes up. She's lying in a blanket of moss in the room with the oak throne. And this is immediately like when I knew Lorcan was going to force her into the binding ceremony. And I was like fucking livid, like so angry. Her clothes have been changed into a white silk dress. I'm like, once again, why are we taking her clothes off of her? Who is doing this? This is creepy. Kierse says, I want to leave. I want to go back to Graves. Lorcan makes this whole comment, well, you're not a hostage. She's like, well, then let me leave. And he's like, well, you asked me for help. You bridged this connection. I came and saved your life. Like, somehow she owes him.
Yeah, like, don't gaslight me on this.
Exactly. And then Kierse is like, I saved my own life from Killian, who's actually Jason, which shocks Lorcan to learn that, like, Killian Ryan is alive. So then Lorcan is also shocked to learn that Kierse was able to phase. And he's like, oh, well, my wife had that power and it took her hundreds of years to develop it. And I'm like, so? Like, so what?
Doesn't mean we're the same.
Exactly. And then he proceeds to tell Kierse that he thinks Graves has been warping her mind and that Jen was worried about you and Ethan was worried about you and Nev was worried about you and all of these people were worried about you. So the binding will stop whatever Graves has done to her and it will happen tonight. And I'm like, what?
Again, like, honestly, part of me was kind of like, is this a Tailman Ryson thing? Like, I don't know. Like, are we going to have a flip going to be switched and we're just like switch flipped, whatever. And like suddenly he's going to be the good guy? I don't know. I was still like undecided at this point.
I was so fucking livid. I was like beyond angry. And then Kierse is like, Lorcan, like, what happened to me making my own decisions, letting me come around? He's like, I won't let you let Graves destroy you like he destroyed Emily. And I'm like, okay. And then you see fucking Nev walking in wearing these druid robes with a bunch of other druids behind her. And I'm just like, I shouldn't have trusted you either.
Yeah.
And Kierse like keeps saying, I don't want this. And Lorcan keeps reiterating like to the larger group that Graves has gotten to her and manipulated her mind. It's just like we thought. And so Nev starts the binding process while Kierse is literally begging her to stop. And I know that this is totally different and it's like a forced arranged marriage, but it also felt like one of the biggest assaults on like her person and her soul that I have read in a really long time. And it made me
Yeah.
so angry. And so
Yeah.
like, cause she just continues to beg Lorcan to stop and says she doesn't want to be bound to him. Like, I don't know how she can make this, that she doesn't want this any clearer.
Right.
And she's
Yeah.
like, I only called out to you, like, because I didn't have any other choice. You're only doing this because you want to win, like, in the war against Graves. Like, you want power. And I think it's the
Hmm.
first time that Kierse like really realizes what Lorcan is all about. Like, I know she's been like not trusting of him for a while because he's tried to kill her so many times. But also I think it's like he cares more about power than anything else. And then
Yeah.
Kierse tries to reach out to Graves via her mind, like telling him what's going on, begging him to help her. And like she knows she's not gonna be able to stop this. She doesn't have like any power at this point. And then like Nev starts to like perhaps go, huh, maybe like we should stop this.
Yeah. She's like, maybe Kierse really doesn't want this.
And then Lorcan tries to gaslight Nevin's like, would you rather see her dead? Like people used to be dragged to this ceremony. And in the end, the ends justify the means, and they were stronger. Kierse will eventually understand. And I'm like, is that what happened with your first wife? Like, absolutely not. So this is not okay. So then Kierse tells Lorcan she'll never understand, and he can't bring back his dead wife. And then we see, which is very unexpected, but also not unexpected because it's literally the title of the book,
Yes.
that Nev challenges Lorcan for the throne because he's lost his way. And apparently, which is kind of a little surprising, I thought the challenge for the throne would be a lot more like physical. I thought it would be some sort of like fight or whatever. But
Yeah.
apparently, the challenge is to merely walk towards the throne.
But the
And
throne
like,
has to accept you.
the throne is to accept you, right? Like, you have to be able to
Yeah.
like pass the threshold, sit on it. And so, like, when she's trying to do it, she's like kind of thrown back from the throne at first. And then Graves shows up with the sphere, heads straight for Kierse, and Ethan and Jen are with him. And they use some of their magic to take care of some of the druids. So clearly Jen's magic is growing. Ethan's magic is growing. We see Declan throw a ball of light of Graves. And I'm like, did you really think you could kill the Holly King? Like, you dumbass. He
Yeah,
dies by
right.
the sphere. Deserves it. Didn't like him
Bye-bye,
anyways.
Declan.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Graves uses a spear to snap the threads connecting Kierse and Lorcan, but it's too late because the ceremony has already been complete. And you can like, and Kierse can see like these marks all over her wrists, and all of her magic is gone because Lorcan took control of all of it. So not only did he force her into the ceremony, but now he's taken part of who she is. So
That's
fucking hate
honestly
him.
where I started to hate, where I legit was like, never mind. I take away any benefits of the doubt that I had about you, and you are a bad guy, and you stole her power.
I like, right? And then he starts mind talking to Kyrus and says, fighting me won't work. And I'm just like I feel like that's what's like, I know this is not a sexual assault, but like it felt that way when you read it a little bit, like, but obviously different. And I'm just like, is that because that's what like someone that's sexually assaulting you would say, fighting me
Yeah.
won't work.
Yeah.
And it just, and then like she screams back at him like in her head to like get out of my head. And then that like shocks Lorcan somehow because apparently he's in Delulu land
Yeah.
about all
He's
of
like,
this.
what do you mean? You
What
don't
do
want me still?
No one
I
wants you,
don't.
Lorcan.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then Graves is able to stab Lorcan in the shoulder with the sphere. But unfortunately, we learn, this is when we officially learn, Graves can't kill Lorcan because Kierse will die since Lorcan took all of her magic. So if Graves were to kill Lorcan, he would die, but he would come back on the next solstice. So we could get like at least some reprieve from him. But if he does it now, because he's holding Kierse's magic, Kierse will die. And I'm like, Lorcan planned all of this.
Mhm.
Lorcan has been planning this for God only knows how long, probably since he first learned that Kierse was a wisp.
Yeah.
Fucking hate him. And then we see Nev sitting on the oak throne, a Robin literally on the oak throne, and tells Lorcan he can either repent or be exiled. And I'm like, how do you repent from forcing someone to marry you and stealing all of their power?
Yeah.
What is the repentance for that? Please tell me.
There's no coming back from that, honestly.
There isn't. And then Kierse leaves with Graves, Jen, and Ethan. And at this point, I'm still, and I think even now, having like calmed down from reading this book, still fucking pissed at Ethan too.
Yeah. But again, I did not pick up that the title of the book had literally just happened. It wasn't until the very end where I like finished it and I was just like, wow, this is such a lovely book. And then I go back to the beginning. I was like, The Robin on the Oak Throne. The Robin on the Oak. The Robin on the Oak Throne. I like freaked out. I was just like, well, I'm dumb. Well, like, how did I not see that?
If you think about it, the first book starts with the Wren in the Holly Library, where she's literally in the Holly Library, and it ends with her in the Holly Library too, right?
Yes.
Like where the big fight is. So whatever the third book title is, we need to pay close attention to because it's going to tell us something major.
Yes, it's like literally like the clues are right here, but there you go. Black and white. But yeah, it's funny. After leaving the Druids HQ, we learn a little bit more about what's going on. So Jen is okay thanks to the cauldron because Walter, Laz, and Graves were actually able to open it using Kierse's instructions because, you know, she's a badass and super smart. So they were able to use it. That's why Jen has a little extra power now. Ethan apologizes for telling Lorcan about her memories. And he's like, I had no idea that Lorcan would honestly think that Graves was like mind controlling you. And when he found out what was happening, he left and went to go get Graves. So you're like, okay, Ethan, you got a little bit of redemption going on there. Not 100%, but a little bit. You see the error of your ways.
Want us to believe?
Well, I hope not.
I trust no druids now. None of them.
That's true. Don't trust him. So, yeah. And then Graves heard Kierse call for him. He's not even sure how. He's like, I was already on my way, like, when Ethan came to get me, and, like, I still heard you calling me. So I'm like, I think they do have some kind of bond. And Kierse still feels the connection to Lorcan, even though she's far, far away from him. She's like, it feels like he's right next to me. She's like, I can't get rid of this guy. Like, oh. And they can't even try to do a Triskel because, like, even if they could link with Kierse, it would also be linking with Lorcan and giving him more power. Like, she's like, I have no power to link, and even if I did, he'd be in it too. So that's it. Plus, you need a full moon, that whole thing. So Graves then takes Kierse to his room and allows her to just shower alone. He's like, you need some space. And she just breaks down, like hysterically crying in the shower. That's where I like to do my best crying as well. You get a nice cleanse inside and out. And Kierse then comes out in a fluffy white robe and tells Graves all about how the curator was expecting her and bound her in iron. And oh, hey, by the way, it was Jason, that fucker who he thought was dead, is not dead. And he got away. And literally, Graves is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Which I'm also kind of excited for Graves to be able to kill Jason because he was like, oh, like previously he's like, I'm glad you dealt with that guy, otherwise I would kill him. Well, here's your chance. And then Kierse also shares that Jason knows the identity of the Fae Killer, and apparently so does Kierse. It's in her memory, but she like can't see his face yet. And Graves said that Jason's siphoning powers could mean that Kierse isn't the only wisp left. Like he said, he did this to you and people like you. Maybe there's more of you out there. They just don't know it. They don't know that they're wisps. All those people, perhaps, in those little robes. So Kierse then asks Graves to use his powers on her, but he just can't get in, thanks to the binding. He's like, I'm locked out. I'm trying, can't get in there. But he does admit that he can manipulate minds, but he's like, I have not done that to you. Like, I've been tempted to while I was in there, but I chose not to. And she follows up by asking him just a series of questions, like if he did happen to use his power to make her more loyal to him, or to make her fall in love with him, which he's like, no, I never did that. And she believes him, she trusts him. And he says, because earning your trust and your love was far more rewarding than a stolen one ever could have been. And you're like, see, that's the right way to do it.
I know. Well, and even talks about how he did the same thing with Ethan. Like, he could have done that to Ethan, but instead he wanted to earn Ethan's trust, right? By telling him about his druid training and things like that.
Yeah.
So Nate, like, the gang comes back, right? Nate is furious when he finds out what happened to Kierse, wants to kill Lorcan. And it's at this moment when I regret. I'm like, oh shit, Nate was a good guy. I totally rabbit holed on that. And he was probably not a bad guy in retrospect.
Yeah.
especially
Like,
knowing what
okay.
happens in a little bit.
Oof.
He was nominated for the convocation along with Amber Dash and this other wolf named Nova Lee who hates Nate. I'm like, great. That's
Uh-oh, that's not good.
great. Nate and Edgar apparently stole all the curator's items without anyone noticing. So apparently, while all this shit's going down, Nate and Edgar are like just basically hauling out all of this expensive stuff, which is no one notices.
Probably. Well, they're all at the dinner, you know? They're just like, this is mine, do, 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 do. So
So they're
fun.
going to sell it all unless you like want something to take home with you. We'll divvy up the money. It'll probably be like 23 million or so each.
What?
So, what? Excuse me?
Each? What?
Each. So apparently the cauldron chose Jen, and so she gets like to open it again. And when the cauldron healed her, because like she almost died earlier, it altered her powers, making her stronger. So Nate gets to use the cauldron next. He gets a vial of liquid that should break the incubus curse on Mara, allow them to have kids, which is like, yeah, you're like, yay! You feel like
Yeah.
okay, one good happy thing is going to happen, and then you later that gets destroyed too. Um, Kierse goes to use the cauldron, and she is like, before she even says anything, right? The cauldron knows she wants the bond gone, but the cauldron's like, I could see it was done to you, but it was done correctly, and it's part of you now. And I'm like, great. That
It's
doesn't
not the
feel
answer we
fair.
wanted.
I
Yeah,
know, but
right?
she's like, but there's another way. So then cauldron, but like Graves, Kierse doesn't want to like lose her humanity at this point, and so the cauldron does something super powerful and painful to Kierse. And then like once Kier's like kind of like comes out of this pain, Jen is like, "Oh, it's a loophole."
Like, wait,
You're
what?
wait, I'm like, "Wait, what?" Kier's is a wisp, but she only has half the powers of a fae, right? And those half are bound to Lorcan. So the cauldron thought her magic was empty. So the cauldron gave her the other half of her powers without taking away her humanity. So she's still partly human, she's still fae. Now she has the other powers that she didn't have before, none of which she'll know how to use. So we'll get to see her do that, I assume. And then we learn that Graves used the cauldron and asked for his druid magic back. So apparently he traded his druid magic many years ago at the goblin market when he was trying to find the sword, but the cauldron refused to give it back to him.
Yeah. Cauldron's like, you gave that away. Sucks to be you. It's like, ooh,
I'm very curious. Does that mean he can use the cauldron again because he didn't get something from it, or is his turn up?
yeah. Or did it give him something else?
Else that we don't know about yet.
Yeah. So I think he's still like hiding something, honestly.
But you know what? In his defense, I don't think Kyrus could handle one more thing right now.
No, no,
Like
no,
I
no.
really don't think I like she's in her 20s. Like she cannot handle legitimately one more thing.
Yeah. And as if enough really hasn't happened here, we then get some drama at Nate and Mora's wedding. Oh, so Kierce attends with Graves. That's the plus one. And you're like, oh my gosh, how happy, how sweet. You
How
know,
cute.
how cute. Ethan is with Corey, and you're like, yay. And even Jen is there with Ronan. And you're like, this seems like a happy ending. Okay. Colette is apparently engaged to Carmine, which is surprising and makes us all wonder why and how and where is that going in the next book. Nate and Mora get married, and you're all happy, and you're like, yay, they kiss. And then they really kiss, and you're like, awesome.
Yay.
Then shit goes down. Fucking trolls burst in through the doors, and you're like, you gotta be trolling me right now, right? Like, there's no way this is really happening. Oh, it's happening. And it gets bad. Nova Lee, who is, the opposite wolf of Nate, literally is like leading these trolls in here, and it's utter chaos. Nova transforms into a wolf and rips Nate's throat out of him. Literally kills him on his wedding day. And literally they just like look to Jen and be like, can you fix this? Can you heal this? And she's like, I can't do anything that severe. I can't. He's gone. And then you see like Mora like running over to him now that he's like shifted back into human and he's clearly dead. And she's just like crying over him, like sobbing, like, you were supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here for our baby. And I'm like, oh shit, she's pregnant. The cauldron worked. And you're just like, oh, this is not a happy ending anymore. And then Nova warns them all, do not go up against the men of valor again, or you're all dead. And Kierse is like, oh shit, this is like the start of a second monster war. Like, this is literally about to happen. And then we get our fight. Right, great. Oh my God. And that's where, like, I see the comparison of, like, we started with a party and we ended with a party and a lot of shit in between. We're like, like, this bookend I don't love so much. But we get our final interlude then with fucking Lorcan. Because now I'm like, I'm no longer Team Lorcan ever. He apparently has tapped Maureen. As a second, since now Declan is dead. And he still has Kierse's Wren necklace, which honestly, like, that's really rude that you kept that, because that's the last thing that she had of her parents. And
why did you take it off her?
Right? Why couldn't she have still been wearing it?
Yeah, there's more to that.
Yeah. So he thinks back to when Graves told him how Graves had wanted to marry Emily. And Lorcan at first seemed really happy about it. He's like, yes, you're my brother. Like, we'll be brothers for real. But then everything changed when they found out Emily was soul-bound to another person. And Lorcan asks Maureen to get him everything on the 4 objects of the Tuatha de Danann. I think that's how you say it. I might mess that up. And then it ends with him calling Ocean and saying, it is time to go after the stone. You're like, oh shit. And that's where the book ends.
I need the 3rd book, and I need it soon. We know it comes out in 2026. Cannot wait, because I got a lot of questions and a lot of theories, which we're going to talk about later. But before we get to that, let's talk about Hot and Steamy, because this book leveled up.
Love it.
This feels like a 4-pepper.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Possibly a 4.5.
It might be a 4.5, because it's what?
We got a lot of chapters.
There's 8 chapters. Do we think it's a 4.5?
Let's see. What did we do for...
A Light in the Flame was the 4.5, and we had 10 chapters. I mean, this might be a 4.5. It's a lot.
Might be. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna give it an extra half pepper.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with chapter 8, which basically is they're in Paris. They've just seen Estelle. We have a 1 bed. And Graves ends up finger fucking Kierse in his home. And there's like 2, obviously that part's really hot, but like the things he says to her, my Wren, my little thief, who else could satisfy you? I was like, damn. Like, he's not wrong, right? And then he says, let the monster off the leash, which is what she said to him in book 1. And then he says, come for me. And I'm just like, how could she not?
Yeah. On command.
And I love that he is calling her a monster in this part, because I feel like she's now accepted that piece of who she is that we saw, like, her kind of learn and maybe not understand how to accept in the last book. So.
And then that last little bit that he does. It's just so funny. When
like, he smacks her pussy and then rolls away and is like, at least that's still mine. And I'm just like,
are you serious?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
and I'm
my God.
just like, this is why I'm not Team Lorcan, and I was never Team Lorcan.
No, Lorcan could never.
He could never.
He could never.
I no longer want to know what Lorcan did.
Yeah, no, we're good. And then we have chapter 28, where Graves finger fucks and goes down on Kierse in the library. We're like, yes, library, please. And he says, shall I remember the taste of my favorite delicacy? Yes, she gasps, as his lips reach the apex of her thighs. The first brush of his tongue against her clit made her moan. He smirked dramatically up at her, every bit the cat playing with his food before he pounced. I have missed that sound. Perhaps you can try to be louder. And you're like, oh.
Damn.
Oh my gosh. He slid one of his perfect pianist fingers down the center of her wet pussy. Louder, Wren. It was a command, and she could do nothing but follow. Oh, yes. Yes, please.
Especially since we know he doesn't use his nose, no, oh my gosh. His no,
Noise.
I can't right now. His noise distortion. So
Yeah.
my mind is like on this scene and it's like not able to communicate
Louder.
properly.
We're focused on the louder.
And
We're like,
focus on
yeah.
the louder part because he knew that he didn't have anything soundproofing the room and he wanted everyone to hear. And I'm just like, he's very clear about what he wants. Okay. So then we have chapter 33, which is, where Kierse is wearing this really beautiful dress and she ends up going down on Graves in the limo. He ends up finger fucking her because they can't actually have sex because her dress doesn't have enough room.
Yeah.
Which is like, so one of the things that it says is like the first sweep of her tongue against the head of his cock had him bucking against her as if he'd been dreaming about her sweet mouth. He tasted salty and purely Graves. Which is just, and then he says like to her later, like, take me all in, Wren. And I love it that he calls her this little nickname in a lot of their spicy scenes together. And then because he does it later too, like when she's going down on him, and then like there's comments about how like she was taking sheer control. She could tell it was taking sheer control for him not to take over from her, not to cradle her face in his hands and fuck her mouth like he did her pussy. She wanted that. She was wet at the thought, but she wanted this victory on her own. Wren, he grunted, deeply and affected, I'm going to come in your mouth. Like, it's just, and I'm just like, poor George, who's like driving the limo at this point.
He's like,
I assume the little like privacy
partitions up.
But I'm just like, neither one of them are that quiet.
No. Like, did you soundproof this little back area?
Oh, or did you want George to hear too?
Honestly, George is probably like,
good for you.
Good job, guys. Good for you. So then we have chapter 41 where Kierse and Graves have sex in the shower, and we're like, yes, shower scenes. We're all for it.
Always.
He literally puts the head of his cock at her entrance, and he says, say it again. And she says, I need you. She gasped as he reached down and slowly lowered onto the head of his cock. Fuck me, Graves. He thrust upward in one swift motion, spearing her open and leaving her gasping. He was massive. A fact that she hadn't exactly forgotten, but her body had clearly not reminded her until he was inside of her. God fucking damn, he said into her shoulder. You feel so fucking good. Such a good girl, he praised, taking all of my cock. So thrust, fucking thrust, good thrust. And then he like flips her over on like the little bench in there, and you're just like, fuck.
Right?
Just like ramming home, and you're like, mm-hmm.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Like, this man has got some stamina that is not real.
Right. Because then, they eventually do it again, like right afterwards in the same chapter, and you're just like, holy shit.
I know. Monsters.
Like, monsters. Mm.
So then we get to chapter 48 where they have sex in the cellar at Nate's engagement party. Like, all I imagined was Nate leaves the room and they're like ripping each other's clothes off.
Yeah.
And Graves says, I've been wanting to get under this dress all night.
I bet you have.
I bet the feeling is mutual.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a really in-depth scene because you don't get that much, but it's super hot because he slid between her legs, rocking her dress up to her hip until it barely covered the top of her thighs. His kiss was tender but unrelenting, like he wanted her to know how much she meant to him, and at the same time he wanted to devour her whole. Fuck the rest of the world. He just wanted her. Like, and I'm like, I assume he soundproofed that room, right?
I hope so.
We don't want the whole party hearing. And I think he does mention like that, he's got the noise under control.
Yes. Yes. And he's just like, thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have chapter 49 where Kierse wakes up with Graves' head between her legs. Hello. And then they both watch each other masturbate. And you're like, yeah, that can be just as hot, for sure. And so she murmured softly at the feel of his tongue swirling around her sensitive clit, pulled her from her dreams. What a great way to wake up. And he says, morning, he says into her thighs, pressing firm kisses down to her knee. wanted to break my fast with my favorite meal. And she says, you didn't finish. Ooh. And then his fingers slip down her inner thigh, teasingly avoiding the area she wants. And he says, show me what you do when I'm not here. I'm too busy with your cock to touch myself. Well, did you touch yourself thinking of me? And she had, so many times. No matter how furious she was with him, he'd still been the best fuck of her life. And that wasn't something a girl just forgot. And he grinned like a Cheshire cat. Show me. And then you have this scene where she starts touching herself and he just busts his cock out and is like rubbing himself to her too. And you're like, uh-huh. Is this the scene where he like literally comes all over her chest?
Yeah,
I think
so.
it is. Yeah. Which was also, you're like, oh, fuck. Because she was just like, he owned me. Like I was covered in him. And you're like, that's hot. I liked it. It was great. Great scene.
Then we get to chapter 50.
I'm pretty sure they had to go take a shower again afterwards.
I think they had sex in the shower then, didn't they?
Yes. And I'm like, how monster? Sex
How?
monster.
Exactly. So then we have chapter 50 where we're at the theater. And like I just imagine like they're sitting next to each other at the theater, the lights are down, and she's like, I'm irresistible. And he's like, you are. And then so she spreads her legs wider under the table and let him find that she opted out of panties for the night. The dress was a form-fitting navy silk that showed every line and curve. She hadn't had a single pair of underwear that worked with it.
No,
and he like stills when he finds out. And he's like, Wren. She's like, like what? Who, me? He's
what?
like, can you be quiet?
Oh my gosh. What a tease. What a tease. But so good.
So good. And she was
quiet. And she was. And then I wonder, honestly, if Lyra was probably like up there being like, what's going on over there? Can I join?
They look a little too happy right now.
Yeah.
My acting's not that good.
Yeah. Or maybe it is. And then we have chapter 59 where Graves finger fucks Kierse, rubbing the gun against her, and then fucks her in his office, followed by sex in the bed.
So much.
You already know how we feel about this. We're just like, So his finger touched her clit, circling as he thrust into her, the movements barely restrained, their eyes locked. She was already on the edge and wanted him to come over with her. She was going to have to stop touching herself, or it all happened too fast. Don't stop, he said, still reading her thoughts. Come for me. And
so
again,
much.
He had the gun, which I'm like, I personally don't think I would do gun foreplay. I'm good.
No.
But, in this moment for them, I was like, that works. That works.
Yep. Okay. So we're going to pour some cold water on us because this is a very spicy book. We're going to move into theories. Time to theorize. We got a lot. So we're going to start with a rundown of unanswered questions and theories we had from the first book, A Wren in the Holly Library, and where they currently stand. Okay. What was the significance of the other items in the safe with the diamond ring? It's not confirmed, but we think the odd coin mentioned in the safe in the first book was likely a coin for the goblin market. We also continue to stand by the theory that the ring has to have some sort of family heirloom connection that either is a special meaning for Graves or Lorcan, especially since Lorcan was the one who wanted to steal it. And we see the queen mentioned at the beginning of that book, alluding to a family heirloom ring as an option for what Graves could give to Kierse.
Is it the ring he gave to Emily when he proposed?
I think so.
Okay. And speaking of jewelry.
Actually, I don't think he ever proposed.
Oh.
Like, I don't know if he ever proposed, right? Because...
Well, they petitioned to get married.
Yeah, but I don't know if he ever, actually proposed.
That's true. Maybe he didn't get a chance to.
But anyway, I don't want her to have some other girl's ring, but...
That is true. And that didn't work out too well, so it's kind of like a cursed ring. Yeah. But the significance then of jewelry also, the Wren necklace. So we are correct about, yes, Kierse's mom is also a wisp. We also learned that Shannon received that same necklace from her mother likely meaning that she was a wisp too. So like all of these women are wisps. Another theory we had was that this necklace somehow like represented a new beginning. That might be possible, considering we're learning that this necklace itself maybe could one day open the world to fairy. We're like, is that where her... No, I guess her mom can't be there because we know her mom's dead. But,
Is she?
I'm just like, that's true. I mean, that could have been an illusion as well.
Correct.
Like when Edgar said that he saw 3 bodies, like that could have been an illusion. Maybe somebody came and opened the portal and took them out. But she couldn't go because she didn't have magic, but her dad didn't have magic either. Maybe that doesn't work.
Maybe they've just been kidnapped.
Yeah.
And they're being controlled by Jason.
Oh, yep.
Okay, so what did it mean for Kierse to sign the book? So in the first book, she signs her name in this book. We learn, like, there are 2 other people's names. We've learned nothing else about this importance.
Yeah.
I searched for the names in the second book. They're not included. I have probably spiraled on this one. We will continue to look for it, but we've spiraled.
Yeah. Next, can we trust Nate? We didn't think Nate was trustworthy after the first book, honestly, and he still kind of seemed a little bit suspicious at the beginning of this book. But, he ultimately did win us over and then died a very traumatic death at his wedding by the men of Valor. And you're like, I'm so sorry I ever doubted you. We were wrong. You were a decent guy. Oops. Sorry. Ugh. My bad.
So what's with all the dragon references? There are 3 more dragon references in this book. So further convinced that dragons are somehow going to come into play. So the first reference is at the beginning when Mur is seen in a dragon fountain at the Palace of Versailles, which at first seems very like inconspicuous, right? The second reference is Graves is wearing an outfit that has matte black dragon scales etched into the fabric, which like further supports the theory that we have on him potentially being able to turn into a dragon or have some sort of dragon-like qualities. And then we also see a reference in the book to Kierse being a living, fire-breathing dragon inside her, which is like, okay, there's something tied to Kierse with this dragon now too.
Yeah. So, unsure. Like, can someone turn into a dragon? Also, dragons have to have been real. Like, maybe they're not in this realm, but they are real. So
are they in the
when
other
are we gonna
realm?
see them? Right? They have to be. Because otherwise, how could he get dragon scales?
Right?
Also, what really happened to Kierse's father? We were right that her father did not leave on his own accord when she was younger. So I'm like, no, you did not get abandoned by your parents. He did not want to leave you. In fact, he wanted to save you. And we thought maybe he would still be alive and being held captive. That doesn't really seem to be the case, considering her memories show their death. So, but I don't know. Someone could have fucked with that memory too. It's possible.
Or
we
use the
thought
illusion.
Jason was dead. Yeah, it's like we thought Jason was dead, and clearly he wasn't. So, I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe they're not.
Okay, who bound Kierse's magic? We were kind of right about her father being involved with having her magic bound to protect her, because her parents did seek out the spell from Killian Ryan to protect Kierse from being found by the Fae Killer. But that spell wasn't what they thought. It ended up siphoning all of her magic, which is like, I mean, not what they were hoping for.
Yeah. It's like, did it save her?
I mean, maybe, but no.
But no, yeah. And is Jason really dead? We were right. Well, at least you were right. You were right all along, and I didn't wake up on it until later. But yeah, he's still alive, and turns out to be Killian Ryan. Played a huge role in this book, and we think he's going to play an even bigger role in the next one. Again, don't trust anything. Honestly, don't even trust the bodies at this point. I'm just like, I trust nothing.
Well, especially since, like, the more we think about this, right, Estelle shows Kierse Graves' dead body in the illusion.
Right? That's exactly, ding, ding, ding. And it's like,
ding, ding. It's all coming back
trust
to us
no
now.
one.
Trust no one.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you see a dead body, it may not be a real dead body.
May not be real.
Okay, did King Louis know Kierse was going to be at the party at the end of book 1? We don't get any more information tied to this theory that we have around King Louis knowing that Kierse was going to be there, or that there's potentially a mole in their ranks. Nate is dead, so probably wasn't him. But here's another thing that's interesting. Almost everyone we meet in book 1 shows up in book 2, except for Tora.
Yes. We get that tiny little reference to her when they do like a kind of like a flashback knowledge, like my girlfriend Tora, blah, blah, blah. And now she's living her life. And it's like, well, where did she go?
Where is she? What's going on? I'm very suspicious. I don't trust her.
Also, now I'm kind of curious with King Louis. How does he know Lyra? Could he have been, because he was the king of the vampires, right? And she's the princess of the vampires. But I mean, they're like different sides of the vampire world. But like, I wonder if they could have been related in some way.
Ooh.
Like maybe he was an uncle, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
He's dead. We know that. We saw
he
him
is dead.
killed.
Dead. Yeah. Because also, what was he planning for the war before he died? Will someone else take over his leadership? Yes. We know the Men of Valor are planning something really bad, likely another monster war. And that's exactly what seems to be happening at the end of this book. And apparently, the Men of Valor need to regroup, elect a new leader. It's Gregory Emberdash, the Wraith Butthead.
Don't like him either.
Don't like him either. Which I'm like, could he be the Fae Killer?
Potentially. So what really happened with Lorcan's sister? We do learn that Graves did kill Emily, or that's the terminology he's using. And we learn kind of how it happened, or at least parts of how it happened. But we also think that there might be a way to still bring her back somehow.
Yeah. Don't trust anything. And now, what is so special also about this cat named Anne? You think it could be Lorcan's sister, Emily?
I do. I think it's her soul. I think there's something to do with like souls, and like her body died and her mind died, but her soul or her magic is still somehow alive.
Is that why she hates Kierse? Because she still loves...
Potentially, she liked Kierse in the first book. I think she might not like Kierse in the second book. Well, one, because cats are temperamental. But
That's
also
true.
because I think she saw Kierse break Graves' heart.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, so what does it mean that Lorcan calls Kierse the pulse of my heart at the end? We were right. Lorcan does believe he's connected to Kierse and that she's connected to his past love, which at the time I thought was crazy. Turns out it's not, because he believes she has his wife's power in her, which is super creepy and weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And then is Ethan going to be the Robin for the Oak King? Well, we thought this could be Ethan. Turns out to be someone else that we hadn't met yet, Neve. And then, again, we love that how Robin literally sat on the oak throne. Why do I always do that every time. But yeah, Neve is the Robin and she takes over.
Okay. So why wouldn't Kierse's parents go to Lorcan for help? So this is one of our theories from this book. Probably because they knew Lorcan was to not be trusted and was only after power. It's a very telling comment, I think, that they would choose not to ask for help from the person who was supposedly married to another Wisp, so connected to Wisp, and went to Graves instead. So this causes us to believe like there is a lot more negative stories about Lorcan and what he's been up to that are going to come out in the next book. He's a bad, bad man.
Bad, 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 bad. How did that Samsara tree get into the goblin market? Okay, we know Killian Ryan / Jason drained the original Samsara tree of all of its power. We're assuming that siphoned power he's been getting from the other magical monsters somehow used to create the tree in the weird cult center. I don't know. Why is this tree created? What's the role it's serving here? Feels like there's something that hopefully we're going to find out later in the series, especially that we know that the throne is tied to the druids is made of oak, and this had oak. So we're like, is it connected? Is it?
So
I don't know.
We don't know. So what does this tree created by the Triskel mean? So it's a great question. It supposedly hasn't been done before, which would lead us to believe that this Triskel is more powerful than any other previous Triskel, which I'm sure Lorcan will love. The creation of the tree could indicate that power, but we're like, it's really hard to know what power or like what even purpose it's going to play. So we'll have to see it play out, I guess.
Yeah. Is there another realm? Yes. Ocean is the first one here to confirm that and mention the idea of a fairy world and how he has actually been there. And we learn also that Kierse's mom, Shannon, said that her Wren necklace was somehow a way to eventually open it. So betting that, trying to figure out how to get to this realm is part of the end of the series. Maybe we'll find that out in the next book. Dude, what if in the next book it's all about what happens in the fairy realm, trying to get back to the people in this one?
I wouldn't see that coming.
That'd be crazy.
Okay, so we're about to go to like the Lorcan hate portion of the if you haven't already noticed how much I hate Lorcan. So what happened to his wife? Where are his sons? We never learn how his wife died. He mentions he has two sons and they're both wisps. Where are they? What happened
Yeah.
to them? Are they dead?
Did he accidentally kill them? And like maybe he became the fake killer?
Is
Maybe he's trying
he
to
Did he
siphon their
siphon their
magic.
power? Did he bind their power to him? Like what like there's some shady shit. And we also know that Nev like has felt weird about him ever since his wife died, and it just makes me question it.
Yeah. She might have been onto something here. And now it's also the question of who can Kierse trust? So we have Graves and Jen, and honestly, that's probably it. Don't trust anyone else. Can't even trust Ethan, given his role in what happened with the binding ceremony. Yes, he did come to his senses and went to Graves, but like the damage was already done. And everyone else in that high circle seems to be loyal mainly to Graves. We see a lot of their backstories in the interludes, but we're always going to be suspicious of anyone who has been paid or given something else to help out. Because I'm like, I don't think you're really that loyal.
So who is the Fae killer? According to Jason, he knows the killer's identity, and so does Kierse. She initially believes this is because she could have seen his face when her parents were murdered, which is a very definite possibility, okay?
Yeah.
But what if it also means that Kierse has already met this person as an adult? What if it's fucking Lorcan?
Dude.
I know it sounds crazy, but he definitely can't be trusted. There is something very suspicious about him that makes me feel like he might be the Fae killer or at least somehow connected to him, especially since we learn that the person that becomes his second at the very end of this book is named Maureen, who we see from an earlier memory of Kierse, who is supposedly a really powerful wisp and is talking to, Shannon and Kierse's father. And supposedly they kill her, but I don't trust that that's exactly what necessarily happened. So I think he could be the Fae killer, or he could be someone connected to the Fae killer, but he's somehow involved.
Like, what if he accidentally became the Fae killer? But like I said, like he accidentally killed his wife and their kids.
To get
Or
more
he
power.
sent them to get more power. Or he like somehow sent them to the fairy realm to protect them from the Fae killer? I don't know.
Maybe, but then why would he say his wife's dead and that Kierse has her powers?
Good point.
But and why would he want them so much? Like I don't think he wants Kierse. He wants Kierse's power.
That's true. That's true. So, yeah, why does Kierse then really have Sorsha's powers? So clearly, yes, Lorcan believes this, but I mean, shouldn't Neve feel a connection to Kierse too if like that was the case? Because she was clearly in love with Sorsha as part of the Triskel. Why doesn't she see that same thing with Kierse? Like, if that really is true of Sorsha's power inside of her. So it might be a lie fabricated by Lorcan somehow. We're questioning, of course, if Lorcan is lying about it and using it as a way to force that soulmate bond on Kierse. Are they actually not really soulmates after all then? Like, how can anyone really know? Is it possible that everything Kierse felt towards him was only because he manipulated her mind somehow? We do know that Sorsha was also against her alleged soulmate bond with Lorcan until Emily died. So what is causing this change of heart? Is it possible that he literally is the grand mind manipulator and not Graves?
Wouldn't that kind of like freak everyone out, right? Like the whole thought is that Graves is the person manipulating everyone's mind and that's his power. And if Lorcan's been the one doing it this entire time.
Yeah. Oof.
Okay. Is it possible that Kierse and Graves are soulmates? We think so. The only reason I think it's not a clear connection is because he doesn't have his druid powers anymore since he traded those in the goblin market when he was looking for the sword. So they can be true soulmates, and that's why they still have this kind of like connection. They feel drawn to each other, but it's very possible that like Kierse is able to connect with him via her mind, even though she shouldn't be able to, but with his druid powers gone, there's still this little bit of like thin connection there.
Yeah. Like, do you remember in Throne of Glass where Maeve literally gave Rowan a fake mate?
Yes.
And like convinced them like everything. So I'm like, what if that's the case here? What if they truly are soulmates, but they've been led to believe it was not real because of Lorcan's influence? Like,
right? Especially since we know that Lorcan is definitely controlling the minds of other druids, right? Like think about how Ethan behaved, how they take away all outside physical contact and kind of like break you down. I think it sounds like something Lorcan would do. Okay, in terms of what's next, if you enjoyed this book, we think you'll also love the Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer Armentrout. It's the prequel series to Blood and Ash. It can be read as a standalone series or, as we recommend, in conjunction with Blood and Ash. But it does feature characters that are hundreds of years old with complicated backstories that significantly influence what's happening today. Does that sound familiar to this series at all? Just a little bit. And then also would recommend checking out Thrall by K.A. Riley, dystopian romance series that's incredible to read. This book kind of made me think of it a little bit too, and especially some of the spicy scenes. There are already 5 books published in the series, with the 6th book coming out later this year.
And join us next week when we dive into the world of contemporary romance and discuss In Good Company by Kat Singleton. We'll also be back with our next romantasy episode on August 13th when we cover Crescent Kingdom and Eclipsed Empire by Tessa Hale. Happy reading, everybody!
Happy reading! Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast, and check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast, and share the show with your fellow book lovers.